Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 114 of Planning Phase Syndicate. How are you all doing tonight? It's your boy Chris, and we are going to be talking about Nova List Mania breakdown, and we're going to have a conversation around standard loadout cards. Tonight, JJ will not be joining us as he is on his way back from Nova, so we're going to kind of let him have the night off. He may show up. I told him when he gets in, if he wants to join and tell us about his experience, we'll hold the Nova segment till the very last segment. So if you're here right now for just Nova list discussions, you got to wait, probably about an hour, and then we'll do our Nova list discussions. But I want to do a few other things first. But before we get into it tonight, I want to give a heartfelt sentiment to Greg from Nickel City and to Nick from 312 Squadron. I found out last week they ran a charity, basically a donation drive for my daughter who has cancer, and I'm ever grateful to them and to the community that donated. So it is very, very hard having that, and I'll be honest, I haven't been super quiet about it, but it has also not been something I bring up every week and this and that. So I just thought I would give a shout out to Greg and Nick as well as the community for helping out, because it is not the easiest thing to go through. And I guess since we're talking about it, I might as well provide a slight update. So we are on a new medication. So we were taking 2 types of medication, and then at the end of July, one we are no longer allowed to take because we've had the legal amount you can have. So they gave us a new medication called a VEGF inhibitor, which is supposed to help shrink the blood cells around the tumor. That will allow us to have the tumor extracted here, hopefully in October. So she has to be on that medication for a month and a half. By the end of September, we'll be at almost a month and a half, and they're going to scan and decide if they're able to take the tumor out or if we have to wait. So, but either which way, I thought I'd provide a slight update and again thank the community for donating to the cause. Thank you all, and again, the special thanks to Nick and Greg, who, by the way, they reached out to me independently to ask about this. So, I really think the X-Wing community is one of the best communities I've ever personally been involved with. But enough of that stuff. Let me bring on my co-host tonight, the benchwarmer himself, Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. I got a fun variety pack of Michigan's own Oberon, so we're gonna have fun with that. Had some cherry Oberon. This is now lemon and orange zest Oberon.
I don't like beer. The cherry one I can see because I like cherry. When I have cherry ciders, I like cherry ciders. But I don't understand the fruity beer thing, I guess. It's the same thing like with fruity whiskey. It's just not for me. I do not like it.
Sam Adams cherry wheat is fantastic. You can't have more than 2 of them, but it is fantastic. And this one is okay.
I know a lot of people like those, and I know if you're in America, it's a long weekend for Labor Day. So happy Labor Day to everybody, and go support your local unions. And there's my political standpoint for the weekend. But it is nice to have a little bit longer weekend. It's funny because our local group, when we have these longer holidays, doesn't always get together. And I've messaged and I was like, hey, is anybody doing anything? Because I literally have I did nothing to do tomorrow. I actually normally we go to my parents or we do something crazy like that. We decided with Nora and everything that we weren't going to pack every single day. And today we went and saw They Live. We took the kids to see They Live. So if you've never seen that movie, you should go watch that movie. I found out today my wife had never seen it, and she didn't want to go. So originally she didn't want to go, but one of my sons got COVID and he couldn't go, and we had already bought him a ticket. So my daughter's like, you should just go with us. And then my wife's like, oh, I love that movie. That was a great movie. I was like, I could have told you it, It's it's not your typical slasher film.
Black and white, not for aesthetic choices.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's so good. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, I've never seen it on the big screen. So when it came out, I saw it in high school at a buddy's house, and then I saw it one other time. One of my good friends is obsessed with that movie, so like one time we sat down and he made me watch it with him, and I got the literal play-by-play commentary on the whole thing for it. But it's funny because, you know, they have the fight scene, right, that goes on for like forever. And my one daughter was like, is this ever going to end? This is stupid. See, they're not even hitting each other, Mom. And I was like,
That's what makes the movie. It's so great.
I was like, yeah, it's just like that's that weird 80s, like early 90s parody, like horror sci-fi type movie stuff. So
That he can see.
yeah,
I love it. I love that movie.
But the
I love
other
Keith
thing,
David.
my wife or my daughter goes, why wouldn't he just put the glasses on? And I was like, I don't know. Like we don't know. Like they never explain why he just wouldn't put glasses on. Like just put them on. It's not that
that's
hard.
weird.
Just put it on and be done with it. And the guy gave him a bunch of money and told him to, you know, fuck right on off and leave out of this. And then instead he obsessed over getting him to wear the glasses. I don't know. I thought it was great. It was like that was a couple of, you know, hours in my afternoon was that they have other horror movies. They have Christine coming to the theater.
It was okay.
It's not good, but I've never seen that in the theater. They also are doing the original Exorcist.
That's fantastic.
So we're debating on going and seeing that. And then my wife had mentioned Night of a Thousand Corpses is also playing, and she's like, I might go see that. And I was like, I'd probably go see that again. I haven't seen that I haven't seen that since high school, I don't think. But that's not to be confused with House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, that is a slightly different movie.
Yes, completely different movie. Good movie though, but actually speaking of that, I get to go see Rob Zombie tomorrow. So, or not tomorrow, the next day on Tuesday. So I took Tuesday off of work because I was like, long weekend, just had another day on, and we had tickets that we've had since like February to go see Rob Zombie. So, and I get to see Filter. I've never seen Filter before, so I don't know if you like Filter at all, but they just had a new album drop. It's really good.
I like Filter, but I only know maybe like 3 or 4 Filter songs. But I like that kind of like mid-90s pseudo-industrial kind of stuff. So
yeah, and I always liked that guy because he came from Nine Inch Nails, right? So he used to do guitar work for Nine Inch Nails and Manson back in the day, and then kind of started his own thing, and then it took off and blew up. So he just never went back. I remember he used to be like super political during the Bush administration. Like he would sit there and call him out. And I don't understand why he never toured with Ministry, because Ministry was the same way. And Ministry is going to be there. And that's one of my favorite bands of all time to see. Like I've seen Ministry a lot. And now that L is relatively sober, the concerts are better. So like I don't know how sober he is, but I know from my understanding he's no longer a heroin addict. So
that's good.
We saw him one time where he literally, like, it was like listening to Ozzy. Like, that's how fucked up he sounded. And you know how, I don't know if you've ever seen Ozzy at all or not.
I have, yeah. I did see Dragon Force once, so they were hammered and wasted, so I assume it sounded something like that.
Yeah, basically, yep. And you could tell when they were using backing track. And I guess my buddies paid for the meet and greet. I did not. I'm not one of those people that like to pay that kind of money for meet and greets. Like, if it's like $30, maybe. But like, I'm not gonna pay $200 or $250. Like, no, thank you. But you know, my one buddy is like, that's his favorite thing in the world is to meet the artists and get all the signatures. Like, he has, I would say, 70% of his CDs all signed. Like, that's just his thing. Yeah, he loves it. That's a thing. Like, if we go to concerts, we have to either drive separately or figure out different rides if it's during the week, because I don't like if it's 11 o'clock and it's like, yeah, you know, I gotta work tomorrow and I'm not young enough. Like back in the day, it didn't matter, but now I'm old and like by midnight, 1 o'clock, that bed's calling me and I need wind down time and I can't just like walk in the house, eat a piece of pizza and fall asleep anymore like I used to be able to. So during the week, if we go to a show, we have to figure out something because I don't want to sit around at 11 o'clock, 11:30, wait for him to try to meet the band. You know.
But, welcome to Planning Phase, an X-Wing podcast.
Yeah. welcome to Tanner talk about his musical endeavors. Anyway, so sorry, it's a laid back, silly day, and yeah, I haven't done much other than that movie today. So. But instead of talking about my personal life, why don't we talk about some X-Wing? And we're gonna start first off with a Patreon preview. Is what we're going to do. And I don't want to spend very long on this, but I want to go over and kind of update people because I'll be frank and say I am not very good at Patreon. It is not a forte of mine. And in the past, the last podcast I ran, I had a different platform we used, and we switched to Patreon, and it just never worked. But I've gone through and revamped some of the tiers, and we have commissioned artwork from an artist, Corey Hill, who has graciously donated the designs. We will be ordering all of this stuff. I officially have the cards on order. They should be here hopefully before we get to our announcements about what's coming up for X-Wing in Michigan. But I'm hoping to have those cards before then. We also commissioned some tokens where they have little different missiles on them. And I'm in talks with Cropal Creatives right now to get these commissioned. So I'm guessing because it's a long weekend, he's probably off on holiday doing holiday stuff. So I'm not going to push him. But I had reached out a week ago and started the dialogue. We are going to have these tokens made. And essentially what's going to happen is we're going to start giving these away on the podcast, some in-person events that we are running or attending, as well as we'll be giving them away to all the Patreons. So we'll get to the Patreon tiers in just 30 seconds. I just want to go through some of this artwork. So I had them do Buzz Droids, so everybody's favorite Separatist thing. And then we did Discord missiles. So as you can see with the Discord missiles, they are little Buzz Droids eating away at Obi-Wan's ship. Or we could guess it's Obi-Wan. It wasn't Anakin, it was Obi-Wan, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember anymore.
I don't know, but R2-D2 and Anakin ship, right? That's an Obi's? I don't know.
Oh, that is Anakin. Yeah, it's Anakin. Never mind. Maybe it was Anakin ship.
I don't know. I saw that movie once in theaters.
Yep. The other cool thing is Corey is giving us a unique background. So the back of the card is going to be specialized and it's going to be full art. So we went with the AMG theory and we're going to go full art on the background. And our logo is very minimized. So if you get one of our cards, you don't have to go, oh, fuck me, that's his, Planning Face Syndicate, like it's got their damn big logo, blah, blah, blah. It will have our logo on it. It will have Corey's name on it, but it is not going to be, it's not going to be prominent. I am not going to show you the back of the cards until we get them in. That is a secret that if you want to join our Patreon, you can see them. So essentially what we decided is we're going to do sets. So right now we're in our missiles and torpedo set is what we're going to do first. And then after that, we're going to kind of change and maybe do astromechs. We might be doing force users. We're going to do different tokens that are going to essentially work with the cards. And the idea is that you're going to have the ability to get these tokens and they're going to be a unique token set for each of the different types of cards. I cannot afford, unfortunately, to put like 1 million tokens to press. So for now, we're going to be doing this set here of tokens, and that will be unique for them, and they'll be handing out with some of the cards. So as you can see, we have cluster missiles. We chose an A-Wing. You can imagine which A-Wing has the cluster missiles. But we also are going to do Diamond Boron missiles because my belief is that the some of the cards will go up in price and Diamond Borons are going to be something people will be running pretty soon. So,
I mean, they're only like 5 points right now. They're super actually worth it. It's just the double missile slot thing, and it's rough.
It is. So for now, I thought this would be a good one. I really like this card. Like I like Diamond Borons myself personally. So I asked Corey to commission that. We also did homing missiles, and I know nobody likes to use them, but they look cool. I don't give a shit. I think, as you can see here, a Jedi is trying to get away from that homing missile.
That's my favorite card of these. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I do like that one a lot. Then we are going to be doing ion missiles. Again, not super popular, but I'll tell you what. The missile piece of it just seems logical to have, right? Then what we're doing is Barrage Rockets is the last card set that we are doing. I don't know if I showed both the Buzz Droids. I did not put the other Buzz Droid one in, so you'll have to wait to see that. But we put the lad in there. Yeah, you could tell that there's some Resistance, Republic, and CIS lovers Do not worry. We will do other, we will put other factions in play. It will not just be that. But the part of the thing that really drew me to this is Corey's artwork style. I really like this artwork style, and this is actually kind of the style we are going to be going with for the next, let's just say 2 years. So, and again, I don't want to spend 18 hours on Patreon stuff. So if you are a current subscriber right now to our Patreon, if you are actually a Patreon subscriber, we will be sending out, I will be sending out Patreon gifts for the last quarter and the quarter before that I missed. I will be sending those out specifically here in the next week. I plan on spending tomorrow packaging some of that stuff up. They will not be the cards or the tokens. These are going to be for Q4. But I do have some target lock, planning phase target lock tokens that I bought. I have I have a special dial cover and that I bought for a couple of people and then who are on the higher tiers. And then I also have I have some challenge tokens, which will be kind of the prize support for this. So we have 5 tiers. So I revamped the tiers. We're going to have 5 tiers. We're going to have a $2 and a $5 tier. So essentially the $2 tier is just, hey, thanks for joining the show. If you would like to support us, you could throw $2 a month at us. It does help cover the cost of some of this stuff, that we purchase and stuff we give away for that. The next tier is the $5 tier. Essentially, it's the same thing, but it's just you saying, hey, instead of just giving up a soda for a month, I can give up a cup of coffee. Or if you don't drink coffee, but you buy an energy drink, it's like the cost of 1 energy drink for the month. Or in Alex's case, it's the cost of 2 beers. So there you go. So if you can afford to support the show and you would like to help us be able to give out prizes and help us run events, that's kind of the stuff it is. I will be frank and tell you that no money from the show has gone into any of our pockets, that I actually have spent more money on our show between equipment and setup and stuff like that than we have taken in. And that's great, right? This is a for fun thing. We do this for fun. But if you do want to help offset the cost in any way, shape, or form, it would be helpful, because if we ever did get enough money, we might be able to like fly Alex out somewhere or fly JJ out somewhere like GSP does. Right now, we do not cannot afford to do that.
Cover my gas to Carolina.
Actually, Alex would probably rather drive. I can see that. So, and that could be a possibility. We could go, if you guys want to donate enough, we could go out to one of the tournaments they hold out there. That would be fun if Alex and I made a road trip. Though I think we would take my car, Alex, because my car is a little bit bigger. Unless it's just the 2 of us, then I guess it doesn't matter.
Your car has AC right now. Mine doesn't.
All right, we take my car. My car it is. The next level that we have is the Pike Syndicate level, and essentially we are going to have a quarterly small gift that we'll be giving away. That can be decided, whatever it is. So essentially, there will always be some cards that go out, and then a little bit of the tokens. If you join the $11 a month tier, you'll get all of the tokens that we create for the series, and you'll get all of the sets of cards for it. And depending on how many we have will depend on if we can give out more or less cards. The cards, actually, I found out were not as expensive as I thought they would be. I was relatively surprised at how cheap they were. So my pocketbook did not have as big of a hit this week. Thank God, because my wife might not have been happy. But anyway, so that's kind of what the tier is. We are also going to be starting a monthly Patreon-only show. I know I promised that before, and if there's people that have been Patreon for like a year now and you want your monthly shows, I'll tell you what, we'll do extra ones every month. You just got to message us on Patreon and tell us that's what you want. I also turned on, so if you are on our Patreon, we ask that you really please send me an email at plannyfacesyndicate@gmail.com and get me your address, because I think there's, out of all of them, there's at least 1 or 2 I don't have your address for. So it would be amazing if we could get your address and get that taken care of. And then I threw a $25 a month in there. You don't have to actually do any of that at this current time. That's just that's if you really love the show and you have extra cash and you want to help. That's the money that would go above and beyond the $11 is the fund that we put in there to send Alex and JJ to different places. That's what it would be. So
it's the FU money tier.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't. How about this? We don't expect anybody to donate, and if you do, we're very thankful and grateful for that. All right. With that being said, let's jump into our roll call section. Tonight for our roll call section, which is, this section is where we talk about underutilized pilots, upgrades, or ships that we just think could possibly be decent for the current meta. Now, tonight the one I picked is the bomblet generator, and you're all going to say, well, we already know that it exists. Like, why are you telling me this is for the meta? What I decided to do was go through and say, how many ships can actually take it, right? And then talk about some of the pros and cons of it. And so, while I understand that technically speaking, this is an underrated card, or not an underrated card, I feel that there's more ships that could take this that would make this a top tier card. And yes, I put extended in there because fuck all, at some point it would be nice to have these extended ships back, right? Though I was more surprised there was less people that could take this than I thought. And then there was a few of them that I was insanely surprised that could take this. So, Alex, you want to read the cards off? Tell us, what does Bomblet Generator do?
So Bomblet Generator, it does cost 2 device slots, which is generally why you don't see it too much. Although if you played against an Empire person anytime within the past couple months, I'm sure you've seen at least 2. It is a bomb, 2 charges. During the system phase, you can spend 1 charge to drop a bomblet with the 1 straight template. And at the start of activation, you can spend 1 shield and recover 2 charges. And then when it blows up, every ship around it, 0 to 1, and remotes, rolls 2 attack dice, and they suffer 1 damage, normal damage, for each damage and crit result.
Yes. And what I thought was cool about this, I did not know you could spend a shield to recover 2 charges. So if your ship lives long enough, right, you can spend shields to drop more bombs.
That is the only way you can recover these on the ship that is depicted on it, the Havoc, the Skurgs, because they don't have a reload. So you have to spend a shield to recover these charges.
That is very true.
It's really annoying.
But I thought that was really cool, right? Like, that's kind of that's a cool mechanic we've never really seen in play, and hence why I decided to choose this for our roll call segment of the week. So, to begin with, let's talk about each faction, and essentially only 1 ship in Rebels can take this in standard, and 3 total for the whole faction. And I about had a heart attack. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Why can't B-Wings take these? Like, that should, to me, these should go on a B-Wing. No? You don't think so?
I don't know. I mean, do you really want... I mean, I'm assuming they're not in there because they used to be able to take, like, Trajectory Simulator, right? When they built it, so they just want you to launch bomblets everywhere.
And I agree with that. Let's not launch bomblets, please. But why can't a B-Wing... I mean, B-Wings don't... Like, the probability if you shoot it with 3 shots, it's not gonna have any shields to recharge anyway at the time.
Hey,
but
their config gives them a reload. Don't forget that.
That's right.
They can still reload it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you can have 1 B-Wing that's kind of like a dedicated bomber. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's still reeling from 1.0 Infinite Bomb days. So they're trying not to put it on a lot of ships.
Could be. Yeah. Viking says they don't like the bomblet generator, and I kind of agree, but for 2 points, I don't know if I have the bomb spaces on taking it. In Empire, which is the most popular, obviously, we have Imperial Super Commandos is the only gauntlet that can take 2 bombs, which I don't even understand that.
It's probably a typo, no, that document, honestly.
Right? That's crazy. That's crazy. Right? I didn't know that was a thing. I just didn't. I've never ran. How about this? Nobody would run that ship because it's got, what, 10 points on it, and 2 of them you're sticking here, and then the other 8 you probably should put a shield upgrade on so you can recover. You can hopefully have a shield by the time you drop your bombs. I don't know.
No one should ever run that ship. Period.
Fair enough.
In Empire, the generic gauntlet, Christ.
I don't know. To me, that it feels like they did that on purpose. Anyway, Death Rain, which I don't think is surprising. We knew Death Rain could have that. Vagabond is a striker. A striker can have it. I don't know why you would do it, but you can.
Right.
I mean,
I think the whole point with Vagabond is that you can like drop mines on people, right? That's
yeah.
like, granted, you don't have a lot of loadout to do so, but like Vagabond being able to move and then drop the bomb is really good.
Yeah, it's kind of like the precursor to what we've seen in FO, right? You know, with the bombers. I don't know. To me, I how about this? I am going to challenge JJ to figure out a list with Vagabond in it and Bomblet Generator and a shield upgrade, because I think you can fit all of that, and that's it.
Yeah, you got 2 points remaining after that.
So I don't know. It'd be hilarious. Tomix, Bren, obviously, and Campton Jonas are the other two in Empire. And those, we don't even need to talk about those. Those are staples on those ships. But they don't have shield upgrades, so I don't know. Do we dump the barrage rockets and take a shield upgrade, Alex, just so you can recharge them?
No, geez, no. You have reload also. You can just reload them. It's fine.
All right. I just want to reload 2 of them at the same time.
If you want to go back, putting it on Dutch is not a bad idea in Rebels. You've seen it a couple times. Just slap on like a concussion missile or maybe like plasma torps or something, and bomblet generator. You still have 5 other points remaining. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I like it on Dutch, and I think Dutch is just overshadowed right now a little bit in the Rebels faction. But if, let's say, Han goes up a point in the next points round, or I don't know, I still think Dutch is a pretty decent ship if you play Dutch right. He's just a little bit harder to keep alive. But I think with Dutch could be your support piece to some extent, because Dutch could go get you the locks for your opening engagement, get his missiles off, and then get behind you and just start dropping bombs and just kind of go back and forth that way. And if you're shooting Dutch, like, I don't know, if I would waste my energy on Dutch.
You can do something like plasma torps or concussion missiles, bomblet, and like ion cannon turret, or like a dorsal and R3, depending on how you want to config that.
Yeah, and I like both those options.
Worth it.
Yeah. And Dutch is what, 4 points, right?
Yep.
And that's why I don't think we see him. I think if they had brought Dutch in at 3 points, it would be a staple.
That'd be terrifying. I don't want so many free locks with Dutch.
I don't either, but I think Dutch is an underrated piece, personally. And maybe with some of this Han meta, maybe people will start countering. I think Dutch is a decent counter with that ion turret and with the locking ability and the bombs. I really think that Dutch can be a good counter to some of these other lists.
Dutch is an awkward spot because you can either carve out 1 point and put in Boy Luke, or like put 1 point somewhere else and bring like Keo.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Scum. Fire sprays, if you take the Marauder title, can take
the title, not the Marauder title. It's the Andrasta title.
It is. You're right. Yes. Why did I put Marauder?
It's the most commonly brought one, so it's probably what you associate yourself with. I don't know. The Andrasta title lets you bring it gives you an extra bomb slot and gives you a reload action.
Yeah. So all fire sprays could technically do that. I don't know. And again, I think you have to play with your loadout. It might be okay, but you lose your reroll piece with the title, and like I don't know if that's really worth it to take bomblets. But
you could bring Crassus and Sync Council and get a reroll out the back, like that one guy did.
You could. And you can
he brought Crassus with bomblet and sync laser cannons.
Yeah,
you don't get a bonus attack, but if you're running away, which is probably what you're trying to do, you could do that.
Yeah, and I think it still could be good. And I think the other thing is, we always talk about, Eamon, right? You could do this with Eamon, and like in a meta where mines are really worthless at this point, right? A bomblet generator is not a bad option. Again, you're losing some of your attack efficiency is the problem.
Yeah, mines are good. They're just too expensive to bring right now.
Yeah, nobody wants to spend 10 points on a freaking proxy. I know JJ loves his cluster mines, so there you go. I don't know.
1 times 7 point mine.
Yeah, it's not for me. I feel the Andracitadel on Eamon and Bomblet Generator, leaving you a bunch of other points, might still be something to look at.
There's only one ship I would bring cluster mines on, and that we'll talk about it eventually. It's a couple points down.
All right. The next one is the Shadow Collective, which, by the way, that gauntlet can take the 2 bombs. I would never fly that ship, but for whatever reason, AMG's just like, here you go. Have a non-unique or a non-unique gauntlet, and you can take Bomblet Generator if you want.
And because it's the only non-unique one, you can bring 2 of them and do that.
All right, stop. You're ruining this. All right, next one, Constable Zuvio. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I don't think you would bring Bomblet Generator and Constable Zuvio, but you could.
Zuvio, that's rough. Like,
you let me drop a bomb and back up, guys.
But you still get hit by the bomb at that point.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's why you want to bring mines with him, and then like, ooh, they don't even have reload, and like they don't have shields, so you're gonna have to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the next one that obviously this references is the Skurg, and you have Loke, Soul, and Nim. All 3 of them can easily take Bomblet Generator.
Soul 6 is the person I would definitely put the cluster mines on, because that too hard makes it vertical. So if a ship goes through it, they're hitting all 3.
All right. Too bad. All right. D's on our in Nickel City team. D, you need to figure out how to do that. I want to see it.
If you do that, you have 5 points left over, so have fun with actually trying to load out a decent ship here. But yeah, I mean, Soul 6, I believe if you drop a bomb, you have to do the barrel roll or you're still getting hit by it, which is why like Death fires the 3 banks, because like the 2 hards and the 2 banks still hit you.
Fair enough. Resistance, obviously all the Star Fortresses. But nobody's going to run those right now until they become standard. Wilsa can take it. I did not know Wilsa had 2 bomb slots, and in Resistance, that is a little bit tempting. And we'll talk about Resistance Y-Wings in a little bit. But
when Wilsa was, I believe at some point she was 3 points, people brought Bomblet on her. Now that she's 4, it's kind of a big ask. Because she only has 12 points. You want to put Bomblet. If you have another Y-Wing in there and it's like Zori, you're probably putting in wartime there. Then you only got 8 points left over. And it's like, what are you going to do with like an I4 Y-Wing? The answer is still just put on engine upgrade and targeting computer and a turret is much better. But 4 points is highly contested in Resistance because you can do that, or you can have like Kaz, Lulu, or Dally.
Yeah.
Or like
harder.
3 or 4 different T-70s. So after you've gone down the list of like 6 or 7 pilots, maybe.
So let's jump into first order. All the bombers, but that's it. Only the bombers. They're the only ones that can take it, but they all could take it. So you could do that and then do like other weird things like with munitions or other things. So Breach though can't. I don't know why Breach is limited to 1 bomb slot, but Breach is.
I mean, Breach is more like the torpedo based one.
Yeah.
It's because it gets the lock when you move through people, and it's got double torp slots, which is hilarious. So that kind of makes sense. It's more they're trying to build that one to be a munitions platform than a bomb. But like, for the people that like play Wrong Scorch and do the bomber version, they do put bomblets. I see that. That are like proton bombs. So it's not too bad of a investment there.
Yeah. In a Republic, we don't have gauntlets that you can run them on, but you do have R2-D2 and Goji, right? Yep. I was very surprised to see 2 bombers in Republic with bomblet generators or ability to take them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, typically you don't see that. R2-D2, like, you kind of bring him because he has a crew slot, and he's only 9 points worth of loadout, so you're not really getting a lot of impactful crew with that. And Goji exists.
It's a ship.
That ability does only trigger on bombs, so you slap on some blade fuses and bomb generators. You can do things. You can actually bring another bomb too. He's got 3 bomb slots, 3 payload
Yeah.
slots. So, yeah, that's a thing. Cody played a Goji list in Nova.
Yeah.
Someone brought it.
Yeah.
They
I
brought
mean,
Goji over the Scum faction.
hey, some people like it. It was fun. It's a fun thing to play with. The last one is CIS with the bombardment drone, but you get
Do
0
not do that.
munitions, and you basically are spending 3 points to take this bomb when you could take protons and seismics, or you could take concussion, seismic, and a delayed fuse. So I don't know. Like, yeah, it's not. I don't know. Not. I would never run
do
that on
that.
there. So.
It is worth noting that whoever the bomblet is affecting is the one that rolls the dice. So things like Han's ability will trigger
Yeah.
if by an obstacle, so you can re-roll the bomblets, or like Scum Lando crew. If you have a green token, you can spend that to re-roll your bomblet results.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I like bomblets personally as like a thing. I wish we could run them on more things, but I think that's kind of the same thing as a double missile slot, right? You know, like I really kind of wish they could create something where it allowed you to have the 2 bomb slots, but then they would specifically say, you know, like there's got to be a way to figure out how to give you the bomblets without like letting you take 2 separate bombs specifically, or designate those ships. I don't know. It's kind of the same way as like it'd be nice to have more double missile slots, but I mean, like, I don't think I want Tycho to be able to have double missile slots. You know, like so that he could take prockets and I don't know, prockets and homing missiles or something.
Rockets,
Silly.
concussions.
Yeah.
Do you know who does have a double missile slot that you wouldn't expect him to?
Who's that?
Rexler Brath in the TIE
Oh,
Defender. Matt would run them with Diamond Boron missiles occasionally when we were seeing the really high kind of ship count metas.
yeah.
So slightly related, generally off topic, but yeah, Rexler with Diamond Boron missiles is kind of legit.
So, all right. Well, that was what like I said, I don't know. I thought that would be a fun thing to kind of discuss. If you have a suggestion or an upgrade that you would like to see us cover, send us a message in Discord and say, hey, Alex, hey, Tanner, hey, PJ. I was going to call him PJ. I don't know why I was going to call him PJ. I'm tired, I guess. Hey, JJ, we have this upgrade. What the hell is wrong with this, and why don't we see it? And if we feel it's worthy of discussion, we will add it to the list. So,
where do I put my Cad Bane crew? Did you
well,
even know he was a crew?
Nope, I didn't, and I don't know if I'd ever run them as a crew, but I'll tell you what, Alex, you're welcome to have the next segment next week, and you can have Cad Bane crew. Can't imagine it's good, but I'll trust you.
The answer is you run Cad Bane in the rogue class. Don't bring him as a clue. He's not worth it.
I mean, it's the same way with Grievous. Like, very rarely do you ever bring Grievous crew. Like, you do. It is a niche case that you could do that.
But he's actually a good crew.
He is. He's like a shield
Unlike
upgrade.
Cad Bane that lets you do a red boost after you drop a bomb.
I ran Cad Bane. That's right. I did do that when I first started playing with Eamon and Boba. I ran Cad Bane on Eamon because I don't know why, but I did. Ask JJ. Oh, maybe that was before JJ. Maybe that was in the Charles time. I don't know. That was like when I first started playing X-Wing. So there you go. That's probably why.
Well, he also wasn't a pilot then.
True. That is true. But I did used to run Cad Bane crew every once in a while because I thought it'd be fun. But on a fire spray, when you don't stress yourself very often on a fire spray. So, well, now you do with the bump focus. You didn't used to before, back in the before days, you know. Anyway, so all right. The next segment I wanted to talk about, and again, I promise we'll get to Nova stuff. Do not worry. We will definitely be covering Nova tonight. There is a lot to cover in Nova, so we have dedicated almost a full hour to be able to cover it if we need it. But I wanted to start really the kind of the show with having a conversation about standard loadout cards, right? And Originally, I was going to do this after we did the Nova discussion because we see standard loadout cards all throughout Nova, but I don't think we had to tell you that. I think you know that. Like, you know what's going to be popular at Nova. You knew we were going to see Luke. We predicted it last week. Luke was the highest running ship on both days.
Sure.
And anyway, so, you know, like, standard loadout cards are here, and they're here to stay. So what I thought would be a decent discussion, right, is I wanted to talk about pros and cons of standard loadout cards. And what I mean by that is I want to have a little bit more of a discussion than just saying, well, this is really good or this is really bad, and I don't care about specific cards. I want to talk about the concept. And we've touched on this a little bit probably about a year ago when they started rumoring that this was going to be a thing. And so we did have this conversation originally. We've already done a little bit of this, but hey, it's been a year. It's a great topic, and now there's a million of these things coming about, and I don't feel we're going to see them slowing down. Some of this conversation is generated because what did we see go? What are we going to see going on at Mini Extravaganza? Oh, X-Wing's not included. And at this current time, I have feelings about that. Very strong feelings, but I don't want to go through the show and have that conversation right now. I don't know if it's going to be a constructive conversation or if it's just going to be us bitching about things, and I don't feel that that's beneficial right now. I think if we see other things, we can have that conversation. But for now, I'm going to hold and push that to the side. What I will say is, because we don't see it, my feeling is we are going to get more standard loadout cards. We're going to see more card packs rather than them giving us a bunch of new ships. In the new ships that we get, we're seeing standard loadout cards. Again, Scum got Lebo and Dash, but you can't build them. Which, give me a 6-point Lebo in Scum with 18 loadout points and a crew slot, and I'll be like ecstatic. Like, I would love that. That would be super great. But we don't have that. Standard loadout cards also talk about, how they interact in the game. Are they easier to balance? Are they harder to balance? So, essentially what I felt we should do is let's start off by listing out some of the pros of standard loadout cards. So I'm going to kick it off to Alex and say, hey, what do you feel are some of the benefits of having standard loadout cards in the game?
So, standard loadout cards are good for people who are new to the game. They don't have to buy, for Scum, it's really bad, right? In order to play a semi-relevant list, you have to buy like 6 different packs just to grab some of their upgrade cards from, if you don't have a rogue class, you're going to have to pull something from there to get, like burnout thrusters, right? Very popular. I have no interest in running rogues. You still have to buy the rogue pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps a lot for people just out of the box. You have these cards. They are easy to balance within themselves. Like, you probably shouldn't have those new bomber SL cards, right? Some of their talents would break a lot of the things in the game. But on those cards, they don't really do that. So you get a lot of like internally balanced kind of cards like that. Granted, like, should Luke be 5 points or should he be 6 points? That's a little bit of a different discussion, but like in the cards themselves, you're not going to go crazy with their abilities. It also allows for some weirder variety things, non-standard, like things you see on cards. Like Lebo has the rotate, or well, it's actually a lock, link rotate. You don't have that at any other YT 2400. Standard loadout Jonas gets a white reload. They did do that with like Agent Tyranny and gave her a white lock, but you don't really see that too often. But yeah, you can have like different configs. Like if you had a standardized lat, it might be you don't have the fire convergence ability, or if it's slightly different or something, but it's more like a missile platform, just like what you've been asking for, right? You can do that with like standard loadout cards. I like them a lot. Honestly, they're a good supplement. I build super janky things, so I'm always about customized cards. But like, I have no problem bringing like SOC Anakin. Kind of sucks that he has R2D2 on one of my Obi-Wan, but like, he's still solid for 4 points. I'd still put him in a list, and that's the only way I'd ever fly Anita. So I like it.
All right. So some on my side, I concur with you on all of that piece of it, Alex. I agree with you. I think a few other pieces to the standard loadout discussion, right, is it adds a different mechanic variety to the game that you don't get because we're able to mix and match these. And it does allow for like, and again, the born for this is the big one. It allows for other standard cards to be, or other non-standard loadout cards to be able to benefit a little bit from some of these unique interactions. I do not think they should ever give us born for this and allow that to be a staple on the upgrade in Republic at all. Like, could you? Nope, no. It's just we don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I can already think of Jedi that would just love that. I mean, especially with the Obi spending the Force to keep a focus.
Oh, speaking of,
Ugh.
in my NCX game, I did born for this a focus to a ship that didn't have it. Spend my Obi charge to give that ship back the focus token, and it's on the ship that received it, right? Not the ship that sent it over. So it
Yep.
spontaneously generated a focus token. And then I spent that focus token again to turn off the Proud Tradition.
All right, that's dirty.
Yes,
That's dirty.
That's a
That's
very
dirty, my
like
friend.
use of born for this because I think I've only used that maybe 6 times in my life.
Yeah. And could you imagine if you could have that on any Republic ship, no matter what? Like it just was like an upgrade, like dedicated that they said, oh, here's a 2-point upgrade you could take that's a talent slot, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it'd
don't
be
know.
great,
It would
but
be
it'd be like 7 points.
I know. Well, I know that's anyway. So I think that the interaction piece on the pro side, that's another piece of standard loadout cards, and kind of like you said, like anybody can get into the game can have. I will say, newer players in our local do genuinely like them. People were running stuff I've never seen before. Even at, like at a store champ, I was like, "You got this?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, why not?" He's like, "It came in the box." I was like, "All right, okay, that's fair. You know, like let me explain to you why you could just build a better version of this. But hey, for now, like this is a great, you know, like it's a great way to get you to start the game and get you to understand interactions. Now, if we want to talk about a little bit about the con side, right? I feel it detracts a little bit from the list building in the game. And I think that's because they price point some of these differently, but that's a whole separate conversation we're going to have in a few minutes. But I do feel that that can be kind of a con side of it. Some of the other cons I see too, it is, you know, if you have an upgrade. So for example, you have an upgrade that has like Luke has R2D2. You can't take R2D2 in any the other part of the list. And so when a standard loadout card is priced aggressively and is really good, like for its value, it makes list building feel more restrictive than it did before. Like before, let me decide if I want to spend 8 points and put R2D2 on Luke or not. Because in fairness, you do use it. Like I won't lie and say you don't use it, right? But if I'm shooting Luke and he's left on 1 health and you regen 1 shield, I just need to chase you and put 2 more damage into you, which is not easy, but not hard at the same time, you know? But if I only put 1 or 2 damage into you, you're just going to regen those bloody shields and live. You just, like, you have to focus on Luke. But then it, like, if I want to run a R2D2 Han with Luke, I can't do it unless I want to take the 6-point Luke, or, you know, Luke. And so I feel it restricts list building in ways I don't like.
Which is weird because in like my Anakin example of like the R2D2, Anakin is really good at 4 points, but I pay the penalty of getting him at 4 for bringing R2D2, like boy Luke, right? You get that penalty. So I'm not sure if it restricts it. It just gives you different options because you're paying for that, the restriction on the rest of your list by this cost being so cheap.
Yeah. And I think another con piece that I kind of see with it is we are seeing a lot more of them. So it feels like they are saying, here, let me give you a list building easy button. Now, back in 2.0 days, list building it was more effective than, you know, specific gameplay pieces, right? Because list building included negative, you know, or not negative points, but, you know, it included bid points, right? We don't get bid points anymore. So we don't have the same, token, the same piece of it that we had back in 2.0. But to me, sometimes it feels like, hey, like, and again, maybe it's just because they like Luke and Rebels, but like, here, let's give an easy button. This is just an easy button for people to say. And like, I get it. Like, you want new players to pick this up and just grab Luke and play the game and not die right away, right? Like we've had a new player, and I was like, hey, you're not gonna get a shot next turn. You just did like a 3 bank away from me, and you're not really in any arcs. But one, why would you just not regen a shield? You're not gonna shoot anybody. You just regen your shield. Well, I didn't think of that. Well, just do it now. It's okay. Well, we're just playing a game. Just do the damn thing. Like, it'll be a learning point. And I said, did you mean to not do it? Well, no, I thought you'd be here. So okay. Well, either which way, I'm not. You might as well take the bloody shield back and take the focus token, right? But I think, like, sometimes when it comes to competitive play, it then just becomes this easy button, right? And like, we could have left Han at 8 points and given pre-built Han, which is still a pretty good Han, though I still think I'd take Lando over pre-built Han, personally. But that's because I hang out with Alex too much. That's why. I gotta stop hanging out with you. But anyway, like, I feel like it creates an easy button in competitive modes more so than we had before. You have other cons you see, Alex, or
Is it really so much different than just stapling like outmaneuver on Grievous? Like, it's an
yes,
easy. Is it just giving
yes,
someone boy Luke instead of just putting out like last season's Grievous that just had outmaneuver because you've never seen anyone else do anything else with Grievous on him?
I
Isn't
did.
that just the same?
It is not the same because you could tweak that point value of outmaneuver real easy. It's like that's an easy
Sure, but I'm
change
talking
to
about
make.
like the list building easy mode button. Like, there's so many like you don't see a lot of like customizable Tomax, right? That's not saturation salvo barrage rockets bomblet generator. There's always going to be something that like people latch onto.
Sure, but I feel giving us a pilot that's pre-built is in making it cheaper. And this kind of goes maybe into the cheaper discussion, right? Like, if that boy Luke was 6 points, okay, boy Vader, build your own Vader 7, and we have take your own Vader home. But Vader playstyle, right, is different. Build your own Vader comes with a different playstyle and set, which gives you a choice if you want that for that extra point. You don't get that with Luke. Like, I would never take a 6 point build your own Luke over the only advantage you get is the boosting piece of it in terms of that ship, capability. Other than that, like, that ship doesn't have the same. It's just not there. So no,
Yeah,
I don't
unless you're
agree.
doing
I don't
something
think it
different
is.
with. Okay, I mean, I think that the choices lie in: are you going to take the standard loadout, or are you going to take something else customizable? I don't think list building itself is super different.
I guess. And I think the difference with the Grievous is, yeah, Grievous probably was an easy standard loadout piece, right? That we all can
Don't you have a
disagree was.
printed standard loadout
I
card
do.
that's just
Yes, I
that?
do. Somebody, I don't know if they made it for me, but I got it at World. Somebody gave it to me at World when we were playing because they're like, "You're just running this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's gonna change. I'll tell you now, it'll change." Um, but I don't think that applies to a lot of the other ships in the meta, right? Like, we had a discussion about Vaders, and there is a choice in which style of Vader you want to play, right? And I think Kylo Ren is a great example, right? In First Order, Kylo Ren Whisper or Silencer is kind of a staple, right? But we don't all see the exact same loadouts inside of there. There's at minimum 2 to 3 loadouts for Whisper. I don't know about Silencer because I never run it. That's a
It's
different
about 2
question.
or 3 plus
Yeah,
coatings.
yeah. So there you go. So yeah, so Kylo Ren says the choice of non-standard loadout cards is an illusion, and I feel that's a negative personally. Like, the piece of it is a negative because I don't think everybody just runs a staple set. And Staniszewski's a great. And I'm gonna pick on Staniszewski a little bit. He's a great example of whether he innovated the list he's running or not is inconsequential. He ran a list at Nova that did very well based on his skill set plus what that list is that we have not seen do super well all over the place, right? For it.
I guess, but like, I don't know. If you look at Rebels, you look at pretty much everyone's running the same Boudica, right? Roughly the same fan. You get maybe 2 different configs you want for Keo. Are you
Sure.
doing like Juke or are you doing the missile? I mean, it's most of like what people are bringing are very samey. You'll get maybe a little bit of variations. I don't see how that's different than just bringing like a standard loadout card.
I don't
So
know.
then you technically have the option, yes.
I think there's, how about this? I think like people would say there's only one dirge you can run in Separatist. I disagree with that. I think there's 4 dirges you can run in Separatist, and they're all viable based on how your play style and how your list is.
Yeah, I mean we could pick
So
and choose pilots all day. Like
sure.
some of them will have a lot more variations than others.
Yes.
Like
And
Afra,
that's
there's a whole bunch of different things you could slap on Afra.
exactly. And that's my point is standard loadout cards, I feel, also limit that. I'm not saying that we should get rid of them. I'm just saying that I feel that it limits list building potential. So to answer your, I hate. Do I gotta call you Thylo? Is that? I guess I'm gonna Jane. To answer your question, would Standler loadout Han be used if Bistan was gone? I think people would play with it, but I also think I personally think Lando's a viable candidate. And I think we had that conversation last week and then 2 months ago. But I feel personally, I would be running build your own Lando over standard out loadout Han.
Now,
That's just me.
If SL Han was the only Falcon at 7, that's a different discussion.
Yes.
There you go. I think you would get a fair amount of play.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Especially if you just rolled up with Luke and then just take the target lock later because you hit someone with a standard loadout on.
Exactly.
Or like a Keo or something and take a lock with the Procket and boost to get someone an arc.
Yeah. And I don't think eliminating the double tapping Bistan Han removes Han from the game to go to standard loadout. I don't think that happens. Because there is always the option to take Ezra, right? I mean, not that it's a good option, but there is that option.
Well, significantly less strong.
Just saying. Just saying. It exists.
I mean, I would take Kanan over Ezra, honestly.
All right. Now you're killing me. All right. So the next piece that the next piece of this, right, is so, and this is the big one, right? To me, this is kind of the big one. What happens if standard loadouts become the prominent piece in the game? So I was going to say, well, could we do multiple, packs, blah, 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 blah. But really the big question is, and I think the question that burns in people's minds is, what happens if standard loadout cards become the prime choice of the game? So let's say we exist for another 5 years, which is what I hope for, right? They'll be 45. Do I still want to play this game when I'm 45? Yeah, I do. I still want to play this game when I'm 45. So, in the next 5 years, so if they release enough cards and do a rotation piece of it, and I think that's kind of like, I come from Star Wars Destiny. We're used to rotating sets out of existence. I don't agree with how they did it, but that's kind of like, that's how card games work. And if AMG decides that they're going to limit the amount of models they're going to release for whatever reason, and they wanted to talk about standard loadout cards, that's an easy button to press. Because, I mean, can you imagine having a 4-point ZZ that they tweaked enough to give us a 4-point ZZ? I am here for it. But at the same token, I would prefer to build my own damn ZZ. But if you gave me a 4-point standard loadout ZZ that was decent, I probably would run it. Like, I probably would. So, Alex, do you feel standard loadout cards are going to be the prominent card sets in the game in the future as we move forward? And then B, whether you do or not, do you feel that it would be a benefit or a hindrance to the game? Or where in that little thumb circle do you kind of end up in?
I don't think standard loadouts will ever become the most prominent way of playing. I think you would lose a fair bit of people for doing that. And I think they already said, customized pilots are not going away. I guess they didn't really specify how minimal they could become, but I don't think that was their intention. Was just, making them basically irrelevant. But also, if it came down to just, only standard loadouts, then you get some I don't know. I guess there is a way you can say it becomes really skillful because if everyone's running the same ship, it really depends on who the better flyer is to do well with it. I guess.
I
Like,
mean,
isn't
do
that
you
the same thing in
that
like FPSs, like hero shooters, right? They all like the same people, but it depends on your skill level with it. So I guess there's that.
sure? And I kind of look at it, and maybe let's shift that conversation a little bit. Like I'm playing Diablo 4 right now, right? There is not one way to build out my character. There is, let's say, 3 to 5 ways at least that are like popular. Do you want a DPS one? Do you need an early game treasure hunter? Do you need an experience getter? Do you need something that does massive amount of damage? Or do you need something that is kind of a buffer for the rest of the group, right? And it's kind of like we talk about D&D in the same manner, but D&D is never played competitively ever that I know of. And no, do not invite me to your competitive D&D, please. I do not. That's a no-go for this guy. Sorry. But I know that's a sidetrack. But anyway, like I when we get standard loadout cards, it's like they give us pre-built D&D character sheets. That's what it feels like to me. So do you feel that distribution wise, right, throughout factions and things like that, that becomes a hindrance in the game? I mean, does that hinder the game's growth? Because like you said, I mean, it then becomes a skill of the pilot to some extent. And to some extent, I don't actually disagree with it. I don't mind focusing a little bit more on that, and hence why we can see Duncan start winning search hits with things that seem a little silly, because the skill of the pilot doesn't always equate to the list of the pilots running, right? You know, sometimes things get through that probably shouldn't get through. But it's Duncan Howard, and that bloody, I mean, he submarined back into Top Cut, you know. So, anyway, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it would turn off a fair amount of people. I know there's a lot of like actually very vocal people in X-Wing that can say we can use a lot more standard loadouts. You know, especially for things like Scum that has, I guess now they have 2, but like really nothing. Or like First Order and Resistance haven't even gotten close to anything for standard loadouts. I just no, I think they're going to keep the customizable part about it. I don't know, maybe I think of them more like cars, right? Where you have a standardized loadout card. It's just your standard kit that you'd have on a card. If you want to do, you know, street racing style stuff, you have to customize it a little bit, and then obviously points are going to go up. The money's going to go up on the card to get whatever you want out of it. So,
but then why are we seeing standard loadout cards being priced cheaper, right?
Well,
like
some of them. There's so many poorly priced ones.
Sure, and that's a discussion we're gonna have too in a few minutes, because that's another issue I have with standard loadout cards per se, is a pricing aspect. But I don't know. I lost my chain of thought.
I don't know. You got like 2 decently priced Rebel cards in Battle of Yavin, right? Just one of them happens to be incredibly well, like, you know, the best 5-point pilot in the game.
Yeah. And I think so let's pick on Rebels for a second. So if you moved away and made that 6 points, are you running standard loadout? Or are you going to be running regular loot?
Well, they had that for last season, and most people just ran regularly. All they did see people use Boy Luke for a bit, probably because it was easier on them. Maybe it's because he has hope and the 4 straight boost, 3 and 4 straight boost. Maybe. You do lose an R2D2 charge on that though. But yeah, I mean, some points are priced competitively, and some of them are not even close.
Yeah,
and you can actually rotate those out. Like if you wanted to add some more variety, you make, you know, customizable like Rhymer 3 points or whatever, and then bump up, you know, Boy Vader up 1 point. You know,
sure. And I agree with you, except for they don't want to adjust points like that. Like I would agree with you if we would adjust points more often, but they don't want to. Their goal is, they told 312 Squadron that they do not want to babysit points. that they will make adjustments only when necessary. And we've seen that even though they slipped the change in on us and didn't tell anyone. But we've seen that with the Lebo pack, right? I'm calling it the Lebo pack because I don't know why you would run dash half the time anyway. But the Lebo pack, right? We see this type of a thing because they're, like they changed the one mistake they thought with base and nothing else. They didn't touch Han. They didn't touch anything else.
Well, I'm sure they'll still adjust points after like Worlds ended. Like there wasn't really technically a reason for them to adjust points after Worlds, right? They just did it because it's a whole new season. Things got a little stale. Some things were a little silly, and they adjusted standardized cards with that in that points adjustment. That's how we have Boy Luke at 5.
I know.
So I don't think it's not like they're never going to adjust points. They're just not going to do it every 6 months or 3 months or whatever.
Yeah. They don't want to invest their testing time on adjusting points. That's what they're telling us. That's all it is. Is they like, because in fairness, if you adjust especially when you get into Scum, if you adjust certain things in Scum, it makes it a lot harder. And I guess that kind of leads into, like Jane asked the question or mentioned if they were even among factions, it probably wouldn't be as big of a feel bad. But right now we don't see, like in Separatists, there's only one standard loadout card you almost ever use. There was a second one with 404, but now with the way they shifted some of the meta for it, there's no reason to bring 404 all the time. Like, he's okay. He's not bad. He's just, it's not like a Luke or even an Anakin, Like, you want an Anakin Ada or 404? I want an Anakin Ada at 4 points. Like, sorry.
Sure, but I mean, also, like, you can't just drop, like, stacks of standardized loadout cards across the board. Like, that's so difficult and long to balance. You're going to have to release them in some sort of waves. So some factions are going to have them more than others.
I guess.
I mean, like,
I don't know.
Just the inevitability of releasing things.
Well, and I think that kind of goes into the next part of the discussion, right? Is can you create could we see card packs, standard loadout card packs, instead of just like a Hot Shots pack, but maybe a Hot Shots standard loadout 3 pack or something like that. And it actually includes other factions. And I look at Scum, and I say this because the reason they hate Scum, and I don't give a shit what anyone says, they hate Scum flat out. They do not like Scum. They don't like list building. In my opinion, I don't feel they like actually list building. Like, if you look at their game mechanics and that they have with MCP, you don't list build in the same way we list build. It's not a mechanic of MCP, and I feel that they have never personally enjoyed that piece of X-Wing. And there's a lot of us that do enjoy that. Not me as much. I like to list build, but I'm not good at it. Like, I'll look to you or JJ. That's not my forte. I enjoy list building. Don't get me wrong. But half the time I'll bring something broken, such as Fearless on Dengar. And, I never did that. I'm just using that as an example.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, throwback to pre-show discussion. But anyway, I shouldn't do that. That's mean to anybody not there. But
literally everyone but us.
Yeah. Anyway, so like, I don't know, and that kind of talks. Some of these standard loadout cards are very aggressively priced. What if we had a pack that came out and they were all aggressively priced? Is that okay? Because that's what we're gonna see. Like in Republic, you see so many standard loadout cards now comparatively, and they finally said, okay, you can't take standard loadout Contrail and you can't take standard loadout Click anymore, and you don't take build your own
Anakin anymore either, which is cool. I would love for them to have packs of like standardized loadout cards. That'd be really cool. You'd have to do it for like things you haven't released yet. Like there's no reason to do it for like a Kirax,
Yeah.
Well, as a person who...
It has to be unfortunately, it has to be standard edition right now. I don't... How about this, Alex? I don't know. If they gave me extended stuff and then did an extended tournament at Worlds, like, you want to know what I would not care about getting? An invite to Worlds. I would probably play in the extended tournament because I think it would be fun.
Actually, there is
But
an
that's just
extended
me.
tournament that is giving out a Worlds invite.
I
That's
would
coming up.
do that. I would run Scum. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
So it looks like JJ joined us.
Oh, did he? I
Hey.
can't hear him, so he
I
should
can
hopefully
hear
not
him.
be talking at all. I know you can, and I bet the stream can hear him, but JJ should message people before he just joins.
Well, I
the
would
party.
if somebody would check their messages.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the podcast.
The
okay?
casual podcast, okay? Her
Just a
podcast
casual,
casual.
just casual.
No,
So
you texted me saying setting up. You didn't say I'm here.
well, okay, fair.
All right.
Fair.
So the guy that went 3-2, would you let's give me go ahead and start talking, and I'll bring your image into the screen for everybody to see your beautiful
So
face. Where the fuck is my hat? Hold on. Where I know it's at your house.
is it?
Get
I just
go
came
on.
in, dude. I didn't
Go-
see anything at my door.
Hold on.
So.
Before you talk, I'm gonna let Alex finish his point. Go find my hat. I'm
I'll
dead
have
serious.
to do that. I'll have to do that later because it's not in my front door. So it's probably like in the office, honestly. So I don't know. So I'm just saying a quick hi because my voice is shot after streaming all day. But it was such a great time over at Nova. Thank you so much to everybody who said hi. I had a blast over there. I did go 3-2. I came very, very, very close to making cut there. I played Ryan Sanasuski round 2. I got absolutely steamrolled after I failed ailerons with Vizier, which put
JJ.
me. Yeah.
We didn't go over Nova specifically because we assume you're going to be in here. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we-
yeah.
so
We
we'll
have
get
not
to that
touched
eventually.
Nova.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're talking
yeah.
standard loadout. So
Oh yeah, standard loadout. So I as a side note, I did purchase the starter pack just to get standard loadout Vader, the SSP version. Yeah, we need a standard loadout card pack just so we can, not have to do that.
Pay to win, Vader. It's fine. You can always
All right.
run starter pack Luke. That's another poorly priced standardized loadout card.
Yeah, the fact that Luke is the most common rebel pilot, he's the auto include in almost every list, even more so than the 2-point Sabine run. It just shows the effectiveness that Luke has on the meta right now, specifically for the rebels. I mean, you see Luke more common than anything else in that meta. It's always Luke plus 3 or 4 of the ships, and I think for what he can do, I mean, having access to 2 proton torpedoes, having access to R2D2, which helps regen shields, which if you hadn't had a chance to see any of the GSP streams, take a look at the Josh Benjamin matches that were on stream today. That was so key at keeping Luke alive and then bring him back into the fray to finish off other ships. That is just such value at that price point there. There has to be some sort of balance to make both custom pilots and standard loadout pilots viable. And honestly, I think it starts with just making them the same price. So that way you can still make a decision on which one you want to run and giving them just enough loadout to be competitive with the customized version, or sorry, with the standardized version of it without being too broken, right? Because if you break down the individual cost points of standardized loadout Luke with everything that he can run, you're getting such a big value there over the 6-point customized Luke that probably can't run the same amount of things that one has. So yeah.
all right. So the last piece of this is, and then I do want to move into Nova because I want to make sure we cover Nova tonight. Though you should text your wife right now and have her go find your hat, because otherwise so right now we're at 2 weeks. You owe me 2 weeks after the final Super Bowl showdown that you have to wear that hat.
Whoa, hang on. First off, when did you order the hat?
Last week.
Okay, so how do I owe 2 weeks if it didn't exist 2 weeks ago?
Because you're not going to get up this week, so I'm this week counts as 2 weeks because you won't go get the damn hat.
All right, fine, whatever.
So the last piece of this is and this is so I think I think Jane brought up a good point, right? Like not all the factions have these yet, and a standard loadout pack would be amazing for this type of stuff. But what happens with the dead on arrival, right? Do we, and this is a question to the group, do we have more dead on arrival standard loadout cards than we do regular cards, or does it just feel like that because you immediately look at it and go, nah? And I will say there's a 5-point Captain Jonas that we're all gonna go, nah, like,
Yeah.
no way, because you gave me a double modded Tomex Bren. You know, like, yeah, I can't have barrage rockets, but I got a double modded Tomex Bren twice a game. I mean, come on, you know,
Or
like,
plasma torps.
Foutois.
Yep.
Yeah. So Alex, do you feel there's more dead on arrival standard loadout cards? A, and B, does it even matter? Right? Does it actually even matter, or are we complaining about something that's just kind of a misnomer in this type of a conversation?
I think there are maybe a little bit more misses than there are hits, but they have the ability to change that. Like maybe some of the other Y wings, boy Y wings, gets lower in points. Maybe some people will bring a dextery or whatever. You never know. He's a little defensive, but he's not worth it at 4 points. But you bring him at 3. Especially if they start pumping up the cost of some other really efficient ships. It really, I like that they can adjust it. Granted, they're probably not going to do it a lot. That's to your point. But I think there's a lot more misses than there are hits.
Yeah, to me, it just feels like they intentionally price a lot of these higher out of range because they're kind of testing out certain pilots and then we'll bounce it out later. Honestly, this is still a problem since the start of 2.5 with just the lack of granularity in the points, not being able to price ships appropriately within a close range. So that way, even if there's just slightly more expensive, you still might consider running them if they're just a few points more, and not having that lack of granularity, building 220 points. It definitely hurts whenever there is like a bunch of cards that are priced too high that you no longer run. I mean, if you look at like Siege of Coruscant, for instance, like the Tri-Fighters were not viable when they first came out. They were just way too costly in order for you to run them. It wasn't until the points balance was dropped a few of them down to 3 points and then a couple of others down to 4 points, where all of a sudden we started seeing a lot of those Tri-Fighters start showing up in a lot more lists and becoming a lot more viable. Same thing with the vultures as well. And honestly, I think it'll take some time before they get it right and we start seeing them priced competitively, so that way we can start seeing them more in the meta for all the different ships. And I mean, we do know that at least for the sequel trilogy, we got the Battle Exegol pack that will be coming down the line. The next thing that's coming out soon will be the Battle of Endor, which will introduce more Rebel and Imperial ships, unfortunately, for all the sequel faction players. But
you get a
at least we know
playable
it's
TIE Defender Elite.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know me, I love me some chis, but
Mm-hmm.
so to kind of wrap up, like I kind of agree with you. There feels like there's more dead on arrival. It feels like we do need more car packs, which kind of goes contradictory to me saying, hey, I would like to keep this game customizable. And I guess my overall belief is that the game should remain customizable as much as possible, and that standard loadouts are a supplement to the game, not an enhancement to the game. At least at this current time, that's how I feel. And I feel like they're trying to enhance the game with them, and I don't agree with that piece of it. But I do agree with some of the some of the pieces on the board of saying, hey, this is a way to make things more balanceable in factions that have a hard time balancing ships, such as Scum. It would be nice if we got more standard loadout Scum ships that were viable against some of these other ones, because they can't seem to balance Scum to save their life. So
I have one question that's actually kind of interesting.
Sure.
How many standard loadout pilots is too many per customizable one? Because
like, my opinion,
yeah,
like my honest opinion, anything more than 2.
That's why I'm asking.
But yeah, anything more than 2, and this is actually what drove this conversation. Is we now have like 2 Lukes. We have 3 wedges.
We have
You know,
three
or not
Lukes,
3 Lukes, 3 wedges,
Jonases, 3.
and so like that's where, to me, that's where they're saying, hey, what if I just give you guys all standard loadout cards and you play the game that way? Let's just play the game with standard loadout cards instead of building your own. And then I could just release a new one when you don't like this one. I could just give you another one. So I could have 17 bloody Vaders. To me, that's BS. And that's what drove the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because that's how I feel.
Just as a counterpoint, right? And we're talking strictly customized pilots at this point. I know that we have multiple versions of the same pilot. However, we also have a pilot that has existed prior to standard loadouts that have had multiple versions of, namely Anakin Skywalker, for instance. But he's existed in different points of his life, piloting different ships. Same thing with Wedge. Well, hang on. We got Wedge, right? Because we have the customizable Wedge and the A-Wing, and then we have the regular Wedge, which is the I-6, and then we have the Battle Yavin Wedge, who's at the Initiative 5, and now we're going to have the Battle Endor Wedge, who's, again, an Initiative 6, but with a totally new ability. So do you feel that would be an equal comparison in terms of like comparing Wedge, for example, to Anakin? You know, it's the pilot in name, but he's in different stages of his life with different abilities.
No, because it's like there's 2 effing ships and only one of them has standard loadout cards. So no, I don't feel that. And here, I'm gonna go back to Destiny, right? I'm gonna go all the way back to Destiny and say they gave me like different Count Dooku's, right, with different abilities and different sets. But I could customize the goddamn thing how I wanted to based on the deck I built. So yes, I built different decks based on that, but I still had the ability to do it. So if they gave me a standard loadout card that didn't have a bunch of garbage behind it, like upgrades, and they just gave me that pilot ability, this would be a whole different conversation.
So
like give me, except for you could give me 3 different Vaders in an X1
they gave
with
you
different abilities.
Vaders in the next one.
No, they didn't.
Not just one of them has
one.
No, one of them has an extra shield.
Alex, but I can't add upgrades to the other ones.
Right.
I can only add upgrades to one of them. So give me 3 of them that I can add upgrades to that have all 3 different abilities, if that's what they want to do, and then it's a different conversation. I'm very pro that, and I'm okay with that piece of it. Give me 4 wedges in an X-Wing that have all different abilities, as long as I could customize what I put into the damn things.
Man,
but that's a balancing nightmare
super difficult
for
to balance,
them.
yeah.
Yes. And I get that.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's one of the strengths of the standard loadout cards, is that you're able to put in specific upgrades and specific abilities into those standard upgrades or those standard loadout cards that help make that pilot feel very unique, very different than something that you could build on your own, without having to worry about balancing across every other pilot and every other faction with it, you know.
Yeah, GJ, I made that their internally balanced point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, there would be a lot of upgrades I would not want to see across the board. Contingency protocol being one of them, honestly, for CIS. I think that's something that should be unique to Siege of Course on droids, and that's something that should be openly available for every single droid across the faction.
Yes, because you're so worried about my droid that gets the other action or get the other tokens from the other one, or takes an extra action and can't do anything because you just killed one and you killed the next one with the other ship. No problem. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Oh no. One of my flax decided to get a target lock to go with their calculate evade, and then you just killed it anyway, and it didn't matter because you just threw a proton torpedo at it. So.
But it's a waste of a proton.
I'm just saying, it's that upgrade is not. Oh my god, do we need to have that conversation that upgrade is really not that powerful, and we got effed because they created that for a specific scenario, and the Born for this was created for that scenario, but the Born for this actually is like a million times better upgrade than the rest of the contingency protocol. I mean, I don't know.
I definitely agree with that. I think Born for this should be nerfed a bit, but yeah, we're digressing. Let's check out Nova.
All right, I don't know if I agree with you, but so I get the last say because it's my podcast, and I'm going to say that standard loadout cards are fine for the game, but if you wanted to make it better, give me a regular card with a different ability and let me build my own list around it.
No.
All right, can you hear sound now? I just went through a whole rant for nothing. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
I
Well,
know why.
luckily you're
Okay.
muted. Then
Can you? No, it's not that I'm muted. Can you hear me now, Jane?
Or Matt.
yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know why. I'm going to blame JJ because I'm going to blame JJ. It's all JJ's fault because he did not get the Lions hat I sent him that actually won't arrive until September 5th. But I looked it up. It's not your fault. I'll admit I'm wrong when I'm wrong. I was wrong and your Lions hat is not actually there.
So I wear it for 1 week less now because it's your fault.
Nope.
Yep.
No, it's
exactly.
Right. No,
that's how it works,
not how
man.
that works.
Yep.
No. No. I paid a bunch of money for that damn hat. So. All right. So let's now talk Nova. The reason we wanted to talk about Nova is, and why I'm excited about it is because we actually got to send somebody there that got to experience the new Gen Con-ish format that came from Chris Allen in person, live, in action. And what I want to know is, JJ, you get 3 minutes to tell me how you felt the format was. Did you feel it was fair? And why did you come in 3-2?
So the format was you needed 10 mission points in order for you to advance into the cut for which would have been Sunday today, in order for you to advance once you played one of those first 2 days for the heat. So every win that you got gave you 3 mission points, and then if you happen to tie, it gave you 1 mission point for any ties, and of course losses gave you nothing. So you essentially needed to go at bare minimum 3 wins and 1 tie in order for you to advance over to the second day there. Now, even if you did get that tie, it actually didn't guarantee that you would make it into the cut. The reason being is that they went into a top 4 format after that. So on day 2, they played 2 more rounds of Swiss with everybody. They made it to day 2, and then the top 4 with the strongest strength of schedule, which is going to be the first tiebreaker, would advance into the cut and play in there from there. As far as my round my path to play this year, I lost 2 games. The first game that I played was against Ryan Stanisuski, who went undefeated in Swiss. He absolutely steamrolled me. It was actually mostly my fault for the way I started off the match. So I intended to have my vizier try to get around his formation in order for me to kind of start messing him from the back, and I ended up messing up my ailerons, not being able to fit, and then that caused my vizier to do a 3 bank right into the front of my Mauler and my and my Vader, causing a 3-way block, and then that just screwed up my entire game. Wasn't able to successfully recover from there, and I lost very terribly 20-1 to Brian. But he is a great guy. I had a great time even with that massive screw up there. The second loss I had was against Ben Doyle. That was an exciting game. That game was probably one of the most intense games I ever had. I lost 19-18. But it came down to the final shot. I had a range 0 shot against a bothless Bodica that needed just 1 damage. I rolled natties, and he responds with rolling natties right back, and he survives, and we just won. And we just let out this yell at the end of the match. You're like, oh my god! And it was great. I had such a great time with Ben Doyle. Ben ended up making it into day 2, and unfortunately didn't get to the top 4. But that was such a great game. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I will say you had 2 very close games that you played. So I guess to me, I know I probably had a little bit of reservation about the specific format aspect that we talked about a couple weeks ago, but looking at it, it does feel like we've solved the let's just draw scenario. That's what it feels like, because if you look at Staniszewski and I can't remember the other one, but Staniszewski was the 5-0 from Friday,
Mhm.
and Cody was a 4-1, and Cody couldn't lose or draw day 2, right? But Ryan could easily draw day 2 and no problems asked. And when you get to that point where you're finally 7 rounds in, like if somebody draws, it's not as big of a deal as if they're drawing 4 rounds in, right? Like you're having to play, like Ryan had to play at least 1 round of the top finals, right? Like he had to play 1 round of the top 15 people between, 70 people in 2 days. So I will be sad my crate bets did not always pay out for me, but I won't be sad to say we had some locals that made top cut and some fans of the show that have also made that top cut. Though I am sad JJ did not get a chance to fight for his right to fly his ships.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it still was a great time. I was able to commentate with Dion today during the final day there. We had a blast doing it. But it was definitely such a great atmosphere, and that's something that I really like about these large events, these regional events, is that you go there, you see a lot of people that you only really see online, and you get to talk with them, hang out with them, and it's such a great blast. And even though I didn't make it to the top there, it was just great just being there with everybody. I was able to bring my family with me, so we also did a lot of other things outside. But yeah, it was a great time.
So that's why you didn't want to drive to Michigan to pick me up, to take me there, to take me home. There, I see it now.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with like a 20-hour drive time for me. Yeah, you're right.
JJ, if you were in Michigan, you would have been the 3 people from Michigan that did ahead of you in the first day.
Fair point.
All right.
Yeah.
So looking at lists, so I pulled up the top, essentially it was the top 17 for Nova for day 1, right? And unfortunately, I got to talk to Ekpair from Pattern Analyzer to figure out how we can fix getting all of these lists into one, because I'm gonna have to give you statistics from both days, and it's not as favorable as I had it before, because Roll Better changed their mechanic to allow for this, and it used to not happen that way. So it's fine. It isn't a big deal. I just think that we can look at lists. The other thing we're going to do is we are not going to cover top lists until the end. I'm going to cover my top 3 favorite lists that did not make cut, plus JJ's list, just because that's not my favorite, but I feel obligated, especially since he joined the show tonight, to cover his list, even though I just want to throw it in the garbage. He's running Vizier for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, but sorry, I got to give JJ a little bit of shit. So if we look at these top lists, we kind of see, so Staniszewski has a unique list. Cody has a unique list, except for if you've listened to our show before. We've covered that. Or if you've listened to the Best Been Bench Warmers, Alex's other show, you definitely know that Cody's list has been brought up more than one time.
Oh, yeah.
Duncan Howard decided to go crazy and run something that we've kind of seen before, but not really. So there's that. Then there's JJ's list. And then there was a couple of cool other lists that I wanted to go over tonight. But if we look at faction distribution, Rebels in JJ's day, Rebels was the top one, and Empire came in a close second. Rebels came in at 35% of the distribution list for the whole day. But FO performed the best, thanks to Cody.
Got him.
So Cody and I'm trying to remember, Chance Crawford. Those two both had top. The FO had such a low showing that those two making top pushes them over the edge in terms of performance. Same with Staniszewski, being able to kind of push that resistance marker up to the top. Technically, faction records, resistance comes out on the top with the best win rate percentage.
Thanks, Ryan.
My right before first order. So it's not planned. You shut up, Alex. It's not planned. Shit.
Can I actually do one shout out though?
Yes.
One of our locals, Josh, he actually came in 8th that day. He's flying Rebels. He had the hardest strength of schedule. His first round opponent was Duncan Howard.
And he beat him.
Yes, and that is Duncan Howard's only loss was our boy Josh. he got Josh because Josh only rolls really good dice.
Yeah.
At least for that game.
In general, Josh just rolls. I don't get it. He's great. Like one of Zach's best friends. He's a good player. He's been playing Han forever. So it's time to shine.
So when we look at excuse me, when we look at the top pilots, no surprise, Rebels takes the top 4 slots. Then we have LOSD, Asti. I hate saying that, Asti.
Hello, Nasty.
Then
That's what he's named
look
after.
at that Vizier eking it out over Vader. Somebody took more Vizier than they took Vader.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It wasn't you. You took Vader too,
Also
so I don't want to hear
Vader.
it.
You know why? It's because they have such a granularity with Vaders that they're split now. So that's why Vader
Between
didn't make
starter
the top.
and Vader.
Yeah, starter Vader, boy Vader, custom Vader.
I'm the one's playing
Oh.
custom Vader, JJ.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking.
And then Reimer was the other one. So why don't we start off, JJ? I'll let you tell us your list, and then we'll just ignore you for the rest of the hour.
So my list is a Galactic Empire list. I ran the starter pack Vader, which comes with hate, ion missiles, afterburners, and then his ability to spend a force to take additional actions after he performs an action. Followed by that, I had the Battle Yavin Mauler Mythal, which comes with afterburners and Predator. And then after that, I had Marek Stell in the TIE X1 with afterburners, marksmanship, and Deadeye shot. And then I had Lieutenant Laurier in the TIE Interceptor with Lone Wolf and targeting computer. And then to round off the list is Vizier in the TIE Reaper with Seven Sister and Captain Hark to round off that list. I gotta say, in pretty much all my games, with the exception of Ryan, my match against Ryan, my Vizier was super, super key. Just providing that essential block that I need to like help gum up the opponent's ships and then jam and then also coordinate on those rounds. Just super, super key for me for those matches that came very, very close, especially in Assault 2, just being able to contest several objectives at once. It really helped me pull ahead to really win those lists. I was actually able to successfully double jam Han, at least in one of my games, and prevent Han from having any tokens, which led for me to really punish Han and really cripple him, so that way he couldn't like take a bunch of shots against my ships with mods. So that for me became very critical for what I believe it was my last game, where I was able to pull out a victory against the Rebels for that list.
Did you ever marksmanship a hit to a crit and then Deadeye shot it? Okay. I was curious about that.
Yes. I pulled that off, I think, 3 separate times, being able to pull out a fuel leak on one and then crit into it later on.
That's rough.
And then another one was a direct hit that I was able to pull out. My Marek was very, very mean, especially on the first match that I did against Ray. I was able to pull out a structural damage, and Ray just stopped rolling dice. It was great. Ray died very quickly after that.
Because I'm not sure if people realize that combo kind of works together, but it's kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
But on Marek, I am not sure which is the correct call for that.
It's tough. I mean, there are times that I wish would have had fire control system, so that way I didn't have to spend my lock on one reroll. And there are times that I wish I had Mag Pulse warheads just to guarantee a crit went through.
No, I mean, like keeping the crit for Marek specifically. How do you make that decision?
So if you have the bullseye, right, you can change the crit using marksmanship, and then spend it, and then change it back with automated targeting computer, and then change it back into a crit, and then just roll your dice again, or vice versa, right? And
do you think that's a better shot of just having one for a Deadeye than just having 2 crits in?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it only works though if you have damage on that ship already that you're attacking. So, but if you're shooting against shields, it's not going to work. So typically in my list, I had Vader and Mauler soften up my target, and then I had Marek come in and then inflict the status effect afterwards. So that's how I typically ran that. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't flip cards if they don't have any, right? So
Okay, so I have a question, real quick.
Mhm.
If you change marksmanship into a crit, spend it with Deadeye shot,
Mhm.
and then re-rolled, how did you change another
No.
crit with
no,
advanced
advanced
Before-
targeting just changes the hit back to a crit.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just want to make sure you weren't cheating, JJ. That's
No,
all.
no.
Like it sounded for a second like you were cheating there. Like, oh, let me re-roll my dice with my target lock, and then I'm going to change them back to a crit. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. No, did you get an extra win you shouldn't have? Saying.
Watch me.
All right. So good run, JJ. A little disappointing for you. Unfortunately, you didn't get into the top cut. But I mean, you being able to have fun. I mean, really, that's the reason you go, right? It's,
Yeah.
It's not to be the top person though. That would be nice. It is to have fun, and hey, you got to commentate with Dion. So I mean, like that's kind of feels like a win-win to some extent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Yeah.
Dion's a great guy to commentate with. I will tell you, the best part of the commentary on Sunday was when Dion got pissed off. And Dion does not get pissed off very often, but he got pissed off at the commentator that said something about not knowing about Bartos' list. And JJ has hung out with me way too long because JJ transitioned it. Like, it was the best. Like, you need to go back to Dion and be like, hey, by the way, you need to have me on because I transitioned your hatred into like moving the conversation forward because that was the funniest thing. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, I actually tuned in like a half hour before that. So I hadn't been watching all day because I'd been busy. Flip it on. And I'm just listening to it, get in the shower, and all of a sudden I hear JJ. I can hear Dion starting to get pissed off, and I can hear JJ go, and so blah, 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 blah about this. And then I was like, yes, way to transition. JJ's hung out with Tanner long enough to know when I go on a rant too long, you just transition the topic to something else to shut me the fuck up.
The funniest thing though was he believed that the crates wasn't worth it. That was the funniest like little side trip. Oh my gosh, that was the funniest thing. Man, definitely if you guys haven't seen today's streams from Gold Squadron, if you're subscribed, definitely go on and check it out. We had some great games on there. It was a blast.
All right, the next list I wanted to cover was a Ray list. Alex, this is different. We have not seen Shaza and Corpus in the same list recently. What is this list?
Well, I'm going to tell you wrong because we talked about it last week.
The same list?
Very close, if not exactly the same. Yeah. But
maybe I was sleeping.
Super cool. Now, mostly we focused on Chorus. We didn't really talk too much about Shaza. But yes, this is Ray with Rose, Patience, Finn, Engine Upgrade, Heroic, and Ray's Falcon title. I'm still going to mention, like I did last week, that I still don't agree with those loadouts. Contraband, man. Contraband's where it's at.
Yeah.
I could just sloop again. It's great. Taking action. Elo, Heroic Marksmanship Optics. Merle with Baffle Heroic. Shaza with the R4E R5 Droid. Targeting Computer Engine Upgrade Dorsal. And Chorus with Dead Man, Targeting Computer Engine and Dorsal. Again, my favorite way of running the Resistance wise without wartime loadout. Baffle Heroics questionable on Merle. I'd rather take Crack Shot. I'm trying to remember if I said anything else last week. I think that's about it. Advanced Optics on an I5, questionable, but it works. Hits hard.
Yeah,
it does. That one will definitely hit you hard if it can get it off.
I assume it's mostly because of the Talon roll behind them, so no one else is shooting at you. Optics kind of style.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, I believe, my round one opponent that I end up facing. He came very, very close at the end there. It did end up coming down to Merrick Steele, just getting that structural damage onto Ray, which helped me get the win there. But this was definitely tough. He did end up serving Shaza to me early. And I was able to take out Shaza before Ray and Elo can come and punish. But it was neck and neck in that first round there. But this is definitely a strong list. It's sneakily very tanky. Those Y-Wings having a lot of shields, being immune to the crits for early on, helped keep it in play and deliver shots to my modless ships at that point if I'm spending all my focuses, which definitely put a lot of my ships in trouble. So yeah.
How annoying was that Chorus?
Well, it turns out when you spend all your mons on offense,
Oh, there you
it's
go.
not too bad. It's not too
Yeah,
bad.
if you don't have to be rage one either, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right, the last list that we had was a version similar to what I have been running, except for with seismics instead of the lone wolf, which again, I like seismics. Bombs are good, people are bad with bombs. I don't like Sunfac with marksmanship predator, but I do understand doing it. If you are that good, you can get it off. More power to you. But essentially, this is kind of like the Dom list that I had been playing around with, except for they added Grievous back to it and took off T81 for it, or they decided they wanted a better than a Iron Assembler 81 and wanted a DBS 404. Which I don't get value out of DBS 404 very often, so I just have a hard time with them. But essentially, they ran Sunfac, Marksman, Predator, and Snare, Dirge, Seismic, the Title, Contraband, Proton Cannons, Grievous, standard loadout Grievous with the shield upgrade. There you go, Alex. DBS 404 SOC, and DGS 47 with the Title, or I'm sorry, not the Title, the Stabilizers, Munitions Failsafe, Kalani, and Cluster Missiles. And Kalani allowing other ships that go in your bullseye for you to take a strain to be able to do it, and to be able to get that target lock, which allows for really DBS and Sunfac to kind of be double modded. And if Sunfac's not getting shot at, it works out very, very well for him for that. So moving on to day 2, we had another amazing day. A lot more people playing day 2 than we had on day 1. And I don't know, JJ, do you regret playing day 1 and should have played day 2?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I did kind of regret it. But at the same time, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I actually stopped by a few times during day 2, just to take a look at what everybody was running, and man, it was it felt, the energy just felt a lot more like intense, a lot more competitive for day 2. So for that part, I think I dodged a bullet. But yeah, it definitely looked like it was a lot of fun.
So there was quite a few more lists. They had 2 5-0s in this day, which was a little crazy. And then they had a scum list, baby, a scum list that with 4 Fang fighters that made top cut. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but I thought, I don't know, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the other scum list, and then we're gonna make Alex like review because he's so pissed. He's so pissed at me for making him review this. You shouldn't have told me. Also, congrats to Pete Lambro. Pete Lambro, JJ was on yet another Yaxby, yet another X-Wing podcast last week, and if you missed JJ's talk about how he was going to make top cut and he was the best player ever on that podcast,
you won't find that at all because I didn't say that.
He did. Pete was talking about his goal of just having a positive record, and Pete made his goal. So hopefully they invite JJ on, or hopefully Pete or Chris listen to the show, because hey, congratulations to Pete. You made your goal, which is a huge thing that we talk about on the show. And I only want to point this out, and I hate taking a bunch of time for it, but I want to point this out because as a show that works towards helping people as you work through your journey in X-Wing, it's not always about making top cut. For Christ's sake, we have the bloody Duncan Howards who could submarine. We have the Crispies who could submarine. We have the Crispies who told me you should never put Notorious on Django, by the way, of the world. So I'm going to call you out, Crispy. Sorry. Anyway, but it's just a joke. But, Pete set a goal of having a positive record, and Pete made his goal. And I think that's really important, to have, like, when we talk about these things and we go through this, because, Pete goes, hey, I'm never going to make, top cut, but I really would love to have a positive record because I've spent so much time investing. Though it's funny, I don't know if he ran your list, JJ, but it looks like a very similar list to what you would run. And hopefully he took some inspiration from you when you were on the show.
He had something similar that he was cooking up, something that he'd been playing out for a while, and he just wanted to have a good time. And this is a list that he felt comfortable with. And hey, congrats to him. He did very well.
Yeah. All right. So when we look at faction distribution, again, Empire is at the top. The difference, though, is very few people run Republic, but Republic overall had the best faction performance outside of Scum. And I will say Scum made an appearance. It was the same thing. Nobody wanted to run Republic or Scum, but here on this day, Republic and Scum were king. When we look at top pilots, oh my God, it's the same top 4. How ironic. The 5th one, though, and the 6th one, and the 7th one, oh my God, they're all rebels. All the top pilots that had more than 5 ship counts were that. So if AMG, if you need a data point, I'm pretty sure Boy Luke needs to be fixed. And that should have been fixed, in my opinion, in the last points update. But I'll allow you to slide. If this is not a big enough data point, AMG, I don't know what is, man. Like, this is insane.
Well,
14 Boy Lukes.
Yeah.
Out of the 16 rebels flown, I wonder what the other 2 people were thinking.
Lebo. That's what they were thinking.
And you can still bring Luke with Lebo. It's fine.
Yeah,
It worked.
You do. You still do that.
But yeah, like
but-
rebels had more than double the amount of any other list brought there. So that's not super surprising that
Yeah.
they're in the top 7 of the pilots brought.
Yeah.
It's not. All right. So the first list, Alex, what Scum list? Is this your favorite Scum list?
It's a
And why is there a fear list on Dengar?
yeah, okay, so that happens. So this list came in 11th. It has Fen Rao with Fearless, Clan Training, and Shield Upgrade. Lima with R4 Ion Cannon Turret. Just don't care about her ability at all. Bosk with Marksmanship Expert Handling. Leighton Ashara with Ion Cannon and Fearless. And then Dengar with R4P, Agile Gunner, Contraband, Fearless, and Punishing One. You do see Fearless on Dengar probably about once a tournament. And that doesn't work at all. Ever.
Yeah. Now, if you're wondering why Fearless doesn't work with Dengar, and it's mainly because Dengar does not have a forward arc. He only has a turreted arc, and Fearless only works if you have that front arc there, printed front arc on the ship base there. So unfortunately, the person who built the list didn't quite realize that, and it's a mistake that everybody's done. But yeah.
I've done it.
I've done it.
I'll admit.
I've done it.
It would work on things like ion cannon turrets and whatnot if it wasn't only primary.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a front arc attack, but it has to be
Thank
printed.
God
front
it's
arc.
only primary, though.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. If someone's gonna ion cannon turret beat range one with Dengar, whatever. That's on them for only doing one damage.
If you didn't put Fearless on there, what would you put? What, Contraband?
Contraband.
Or I mean, not Contraband.
Oh, there it is, Contraband.
No. Oh my gosh. The one where you get rid of a token or regen one of your charges.
Cutthroat?
Cutthroat, yes.
No. You put on like expert handling.
Oh, yeah,
honestly.
expert handling. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people talking about this kind of Dengar because Agile Gunner is only 1 point, and that's still actually kind of useful if you don't have a shot, especially with Dengar's ability. Granted, they still have to be in your front, but like it kind of works out weirdly. Yeah, I mean, like Contraband, I think is the way to go with this. You could put in like spare parts canister. I've also seen, so you get the charge back on R5 P8 or break a lock while you're at I6, so you don't get like torped. And occasionally you'll see like a lone wolf. But I still rather take expert handling.
I would too.
Yeah, I like me some expert handling.
All right. The next list is from Sevwall, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Sevwall plays in our NCX league, right?
Yes, he does.
JJ?
Yes.
Yeah. So this, and it was funny because this list, I was watching the stream in fairness on Saturday quite a bit, just because we were sitting around before and I was just doing chores. So I just had it up. And in the chat, somebody's like, "Oh, this is a total Sevwall list," and I was like, Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen this in Nickel City more than one time.
Because it was Zevol.
Yep, it was. Yeah, you didn't know on stream it wasn't. I didn't know on stream until somebody said it. So in this list, they have Commander Malorus with Magpult, Kylo with Enhanced Jamming Suite, Instinctive Aim, Concussion Missiles, Advanced Optics, and Fanatical. Lin Gava, which is essentially the special piece here, right? Like this is the Sevwall, like this is what he's been running. They've been running specifically for a while. Lin Gava with Fanatical, Proud Tradition, and Pattern Analyzer, so you could just do crazy things. It's the objective getter, and I will be honest with you, I 100% rooted for them to make cut. Like this,
Yeah.
I wanted this list in cut, for the pure fact that it had Lin in it. I just really wanted that to work. Lieutenant Lahoo's with Proud Tradition, Pattern Analyzer, Special Forces Gunner, and then Quick Draw with Fanatical, Proud Tradition, Pattern Analyzer, SFG, and FCS. Good job, Sevwall. That was I will tell you that was a good run. I really enjoyed watching you on stream. And I'm a little sad that you didn't get into top cut, but it is what it is. I still think that's a very good list. I would run my Kylo differently, personally. That's not my Kylo that I would run, but I understand why people like that Kylo better. But Lin Gava, chef's kiss right there. Just like, thank you for bringing something that's not meta. And telling us all that you can hit top 12 with a non-meta list.
So with that quick draw build, do you just like one hard slam, one bank, shed your stress, shoot because you lost a shield and then get an action? Because you can do that.
Yeah.
They did not do that, but that's a good idea. I never
Honestly,
thought about that.
for me, I would, if I was running this list, I would number 1 have collision detector and quick draw, and number 2 have gas clouds, and then set myself up where quick draw ends on a gas cloud with collision detector, ignores it, and then take shots, and hopefully have like trick shot or something like that if you wanted to like really aggro that.
All right,
and,
stop it, JJ,
and then
stop it.
You number
You're
1
wrong.
prevent quick draw from getting any locks on them, because as long as you're on that gas cloud, your opponent cannot take locks onto quick draw. And then number 2, you're giving quick draw an additional die, and he's double tapping through that gas cloud, and then you set yourself up for a sloop behind them, or hard one, or whatever you want, and you have pattern analyzer there, and there you go. You're behind the list. They now have to contend with the rest of your forces catching up, and quick draw right there. So I mean, it's nice. It's a very niche type style, but that absolutely could be really good
kind of style.
Yeah, exactly. It works once and then it doesn't work after that. So yeah,
that's why I bring seismic charges.
Yeah. All right, look, in this list, the Lin Gava thing, I just like, this is, and to give AMG a little bit of credit here, I know I've kind of dogged them a little bit tonight, but that Lin Gava, like, this is the type of thing I like to see, right? Like, this is unique. This is definitely different than what we've been seeing. Yes, we have some similar pieces, whatever. But just being able, like, I literally watched LaHugh's sloop, like, do, like, I was a 3-bank and then a sloop or something like that, something crazy, weird, and then, like, be behind the opponent to shoot. Like, nobody shot at LaHugh's. There you go. It's a very, Lin Gava has a very great gimmick, and I feel it's just overshadowed by some of the meta staples, but I feel that it is definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
So, JJ, what did Ted T bring? Which I don't know if Ted was ever on stream,
Yes.
but I rooted for Ted to get on stream.
Yes, Ted was on stream, and I'll bring that up in a second here. So we got CIS here. We got Cad Bane with proton cannon, shield upgrade, and marksmanship. Dirge with proton cannons, proton bombs, and marksmanship. And the title IG-11 with proton cannons and shield upgrade. DGS-047.
111, not IG-11.
Sorry, IG-111. We'll go 111.
Very different droid.
Yeah. DGS-047 with the stabilizers, Jango Fett crew, and concussion missiles, which, if you're not familiar with Jango Fett crew, you can essentially spend a lock they have on an opponent to convert, I believe, blank into a hit, if I'm not mistaken.
Focus to a blank is Jango's ability, but you have to spend a lock to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got DGS 286 with the stabilizers and cluster missiles in Kalani, and then DFS 081 with energy shell charges and Indy calcs. In the game that they played, they were able to actually get a proton cannon shot on a Han, if I'm not mistaken, and was able to get it off there, which was just amazing. I just happened to be walking by when that happened, and it was just one of the funniest things to ever see like actually happen, because you don't expect a very low initiative ship to be able to line up a bullseye shot like that, especially proton cannons. But it happened, and it did pretty well for what it did there. But a really great list. I actually like this. This is a fun list, and if I had one more HMP, I would absolutely put this on the board to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I rooted for this list to be on stream, just specifically, like I did, because I think this is, again, when we talk about meta and all these other things, and we really need to move on. But when we talked about meta and all these things, this list right here, like this is pretty good. This is like, I will tell you, this is definitely niche. You know, like IG 111 is definitely a weird take, right? Because you could run a higher initiative, you could do all these other things, but I think in this world, like I think Kalani works very well in this list. And like, I don't know. I feel like I need to go back into my books and pull out these cards and play this tomorrow, because this looks like a really, really, really fun list to play. So, all right, let's move on to Sunday, day 3. So, after you made a cut, essentially, right? You had to play 2 more games of Swiss, and then the top 4 would get chosen. Mm-hmm. Which probably is beneficial, because if you think about it, by that point, most people have had enough X-Wing to choke a horse. So they're either hungover or they're drunk, like Alex would be. Like if Alex were in this day, he would definitely be drunk. I want to know how many beers Cody drank is what I want to know.
Probably an ass load of beers.
Yeah. But today, I want to know on Sunday, how many beers did Cody drink is what I want to know.
So Cody was hurt. He had to take some meds for his right arm, so he couldn't do much of that. But it was the funniest thing.
You say that, man. I was drinking with Cody after he broke his collarbone.
The funniest thing though is that whenever it was time to play, then all of a sudden he takes off his arm brace and he's like ready to play like nothing. And I'm like, this guy just went Super Saiyan and took off his weights. He's ready to roll dice. It was the funniest thing to see, man.
Straps down. He's Kurt Angle. He's ready to go.
Yep. It was great.
I will say Cody is hilarious to play with, because so last time I played against Cody looked at me. He's like, I've had something to drink. This is going to be a for fun game. Either you're going to win or I'm going to win. And it's going to be what it is. So let's have fun. And I was like, all right. Like, I'm here because I want my store champ. And he's like, and then he ended up knocking me. He was my 1 loss that day. But he didn't win. He already had his 1 loss. So it didn't matter. Neither one of us made store champ. But it was very exciting to see Cody's Silencer and Malorus list actually do well. Overall, he was 7th out of everybody in the whole tournament. So kudos to Corey. Like, I will say, very, very good job, Cody. God damn it.
Cordy.
Yep, Cordy, whatever.
Mr. Wood.
It's Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Good job on your run. And if you've never played with Cody ever, like, that should be like something you should strive for as a life goal. And I will tell you, it is hilarious to play with him. I'll never forget, we were down in at the Rust Cup, and it's like round 2 or after round, either before round 2 or after round 2, and I had to go outside and get some medication for my stomach, and Cody's out there sitting there drinking beer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you know it's pretty early, right? He's like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, all right. I was like, you know, like, we're all playing for something. Now, in fairness, West Side beat East Side that time. But just remember that. And but anyway, it was hilarious because he's sitting out there. He's like, "You want a beer?" I was like, "I don't drink beer. Do you have whiskey or something like that?" He's like, "No, but if I did, we'd be doing shots." I was like, "All right, like I'm good, I'm good, man." But yes, Cody's a blast to hang out with if you've never hung out with Cody. So, long story short, the idea of the day is Rebels and Republic. Though Empire did better than their cut ratio for it. Top pilots, I only went for the top 5. No surprise, it's all Rebels. Sadly enough, it's all Rebels. Except for Oddball, which is Alex's favorite pilot of all
3
time.
out of 3 lists, man.
So I'm just saying, like, there you go.
Told
Pretty
you
good.
You shouldn't have been 4 points.
Yeah, I know. We know. We agree with you. So do you want to cover top list first or bottom list first?
Bottom list. Build up the suspense.
All right.
Yeah, let's go for the bottom. Yep.
All right. So bottom list, I'll tell you what. Whoever wants to pick, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Alex,
me.
you pick 1 out of 13, 14, or 15. Which one would you like?
I got this bottom list. It's Scum, baby. They did something, sorta. They made it. They got into the playoffs. There's always that one crazy person that brings Scum and then somehow makes it up there, and that's that one guy. He went with Fen Rao with Fearless, Enduring, and Beskar. Really doesn't want those crits. Joy Rakoff with Fearless and Ion Torps. I'm so glad he brought torpedoes because he read the card. Some people bring concussion missiles and don't realize it says torpedoes on his card. No one reads Scum cards, and that's kind of the joke.
Exactly.
Cad Solus with Fearless and Beskar, and a Mandalorian Royal Guard with Fearless and Beskar. Doesn't care about the ability. No medium and large base ships. Brought it because it's an I4 and hates Tor fun. Also, Bosco's on that list as Dead Man Switch.
He's an afterthought, yes.
I'm assuming Mandalorian Royal Guard is because he's I4. Tor fun is 3, and then the 4 works with Cad Bane, Joy Rakoff, and Bosk, actually. And then you got Fen Rao. I assume everyone jousted this list.
Yeah.
And that's why it did really well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the strength for these Mandos, right? Just being at range 1, being able to get that the Concordia face off there, they're gonna do some damage, especially with Fearless. If you joust them straight up, this is a list that will absolutely tear through your list. Like it can do some damage.
Yeah, heaven forbid to get Joy Rakoff at range 1, just spends his Ion Torp and now he's Wedge.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Especially after it took a range 1 shot from a Fen. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah.
It is really interesting that Enduring on Fenrir really just trying not to take crits there, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually works really well, right? Because you have the Beskar reinforced plating that helps you mitigate one crit that can come through, and then Enduring helps you take care of the rest, right? And if you happen to take like a target lock or just focus on repositioning and didn't take a focus Enduring, if you suffer that crit, you can take a red focus if you need to. So it does open up a little bit of options there for Fenrir, but you're mainly using Enduring to make sure that you're not taking crits and avoid it as long as you can avoid the bullseye. So yeah,
it's really hard to do when you're just straight jousting them at range 1.
Yeah, I would probably assume that Fenrir was probably more the flanker on there because Fenrir doesn't necessarily need to
they probably just
joust anybody
when they were at range 1 and Enduring when they weren't, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they used the other ability of Beskar and just took that, like, I don't know, structural and flipped it face down. No one does that, though.
Yeah, no.
Let's get rid of it.
All right.
That happened. Yeah. I'm glad that, yet again, some crazy MFer just took Scum. Did something with it.
I mean, it's look, if Charles were here right now, Charles would approve of this list. So
yeah,
I love Fangs.
They're not your style.
I wouldn't bring. No, they're my style 100%. I just wouldn't bring them right now.
That means they're not your style overall.
You know how many Huns and Boy Looser are out there? Literally every single list.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, we know.
I don't want that.
We know.
So, taking a look at the number 14, it's a list that we've seen a lot. This is the Paul Heaver list, which is Siege of Coruscant, Anakin, Padme, Siege of Coruscant, Jag, Wolf, and Oddball, which is we've seen very tough list to get through. The one I want to cover is number 13, Miguel Justiano. This is one that I got to commentate on. He was the the first match that we had in the morning here. So he's playing a CIS list. He has Dirge in the Rogue class Starfighter, which there are a total of 4 in this list, and we'll come back to that in a second. So he had Marksmanship, Proton Cannon, the Xanadu Blood Title, and Proton Bombs, Cad Bane with HLC Ion Cannon and Baffle, and then 2 Magna Guard Protectors with Sync Laser Cannons, Discord Missiles, Independent Calculations, and then T-81 with the Siege of Coruscant version that comes with Outmaneuver, Burners, and Contingency Protocol. I got to see this list play against a Rebel list that did not include Han, actually. This was a Magva, Yaro, Sabine, Luke, Hera, and Bodega list. Those Magna Guard Protectors, see them play, and mind you, Miguel was a person who got his 10 points and advanced to day 2 to play this year, so he did very, very well, and I did get to play him at Richmond Open with a different list, so he's a very, very good player. Just seeing how he deployed those Magna Guard Protectors in the center, and then Cad Bane and Dirge on the other side. He did have Dirge as the guarded for Magna Guard Protectors, and just being able to be aggressive at first with those Magna Guard Protectors, you know, setting up the range 3, get the Sync Laser Cannons out, and then slow roll in slowly while Dirge comes in around the sides of it, and basically making sure that they're always in that arc there. Really, really helped keep that Dirge alive all the way into the end. The dice didn't help him out for that particular game, but it was definitely really interesting to see how he played that. DIS T-81 zooming around the corner, getting those outmaneuver shots in, definitely helped. And unfortunately, Miguel ended up losing that particular match, but it is definitely something that is worth looking into. If you can fly those Magna Guard Protectors right, you can definitely do some damage. 1, because they're initiative 4 and they match up very well with CAD, and 2, they can definitely help your whichever ship you want to guard live longer, as long as they have those calculate tokens to help do that ability reliably.
So I have a question, just weird question. How often did he use the independent calculates on the Magna Guards? Every turn, or just like once?
Pretty much every turn. There was only, I think, 2 turns that he wasn't able to use it because he bumped, and you can't do a double calculate when you bump. But every round that he didn't, he did independent calculations every time.
I guess the reason I ask is a little selfish, because I ran 5 of them on TTS just for fun, and I have been considering buying a second Rogue pack just so I could run a version of this list. In and of itself, I don't like HLC Ion Cannon Cad Bane, and I would put the Xanadu title on Cad Bane in this case versus Dirge.
Yeah,
but that's just, you know, whatever. That's
a preference.
That's personal preference.
I mean, Dirge,
but what I found with
than Cad Bane, so you have a better chance of getting the bombs off, right?
Yeah,
sure, you're right, but anyway, Alex, we don't. Let's not sidetrack into that. But the problem, the issue I ran into is those Magna Guard Protectors had a hard time turning around, with when you started like doing the double calculates, and they were too predictable and easy to block. I will say this style of list is insanely fun to run. Like, I loved it. I loved running 5 of them. I would run 4 of these and DS T-81 all day long. Like, this is a Tanner list, and this is like, you know, 4 T-70s essentially with missing 1 shield, and a little bit worse style.
2 attack dice.
And 2 attack dice. Well, that's why you bring the other stuff, you know.
Or no 4 dice attack.
No conditional. That's a conditional 4-die attack.
Literally no 4-die attack.
So, all right. Anyway, I feel that this is a fun list, though.
Yeah.
All right. So number 14, we got to move on. I don't want to spend. We're already 2.5 hours.
We skipped 14 already. We went over that one already. So let's go on to the next row. Yep.
All right. So out of the next row, number 12 was a somewhat unique, Republic list. We had Boy Luke, which we don't care about. We had Boudica, with Beskar, Mando, Optics, and Predator, which seems to be pretty similar to what we see all the time. But we then had Bentic 2 tubes, which I love Bentic. I love me some Bentic with Perceptive, Jin, and Hopeful. Sabine with Beskar, and Hera with Magpulse, Deadeye Shot. Which I really would like to ask Nugans how often he used Magpulse and then flipped it down.
So this was Ben Doyle, and that was
okay.
that was my second loss, where he won by that 1 point there. So he was able to use Hera. Actually, he used both of Hera's Magpulse warhead shots on my ships. I just happened to evade both of them. I got lucky because Hera just rolled blanks into blanks. But if they would have hit, it would have absolutely crippled my attacks coming in. Hera being able to target my Merrick Steel and my Vader, and would have essentially, since she was shooting first, would have completely knocked out their ability to roll 3 dice, which would have absolutely like decimated my list there. I think it is a really, really good list there. Deadeye Shot is just a bonus. If you happen to roll a focus that you can't mod, and you have damage on that ship, just spend it. Deadeye Shot, it's a bonus. It's not going to always work out, but it's there just to be there. But Benthic 2 tubes definitely was the crux of this particular list, just providing those focuses over to Hera, so that way she can pass them on to anybody else or double mod her shot if she needed to. So it was a really nice list. It was good.
Grasser also ran this list, except for he had Hopeful on Hera.
Yeah.
He actually lost to both Cody and Josh, which is great. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool list. It's actually something I would probably fly more so than a Han list, just because I like me some degenerate Heratani things. I enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the next list is almost identical except for Boudica has Marksmanship and Deadeye Shot, and they're running Magva Yarvo with Jyn Erso and Leia Organa. So it gives you the Force, or it gives you to do the crazy turnaround maneuvers, which I kind of like a little bit better than Bentic. I think Bentic's fun to run, but in fairness, like Magva is probably really good over that.
You can give Hera double evade with Benthic, though.
Yes.
True. You can. Yes, which is really dirty.
Or like an evade and also enable Hera to take a lock for Magpulse, which is what I like about it.
So, next list is Missing Link.
Yeah.
JJ, what did they run?
So we got a first order list here. We got Kylo Ren in the silencer with proton torpedoes, events, optics, fanatical, and instinctive aim. Lieutenant LeHughes with special forces gunner, barrage rockets, and marksmanship. Commander Malaris with cluster missiles, Scorch with fanatical and crack shot, and then DT-798 with deuterium power cells to round out that list. This feels like a very offensive-minded type list. Kylo just being able to essentially double mod those proton torpedoes natively, kind of like a Luke Skywalker, and Lieutenant LeHughes with barrage rockets and marksmanship. If Kylo gets a lock and just uses optics and the Force, Lieutenant LeHughes can mod those barrage rockets, which Kylo's lock on that same ship there. It's a really, really nice combo, especially since they both engage at Initiative 5. And then Scorch, DT, and Malaris can finish off anybody that survives from there. It feels like a really nice offensive-minded list, especially if you can set up that kill box for your intended target.
And I think in this list, I would run Commander Malaris with Magpulse instead, because it feels like Magpulse could shoot first and really just just be a dick move.
Yeah,
you know,
and shoot it out from further, right, to match the proton torpedo. Yep.
What do you think of that Scorch with fanatical and crack shot? You haven't
weird
seen that before. You don't.
I mean, if you're facing a high agility ace, and you're going to be the last shot on that against that ship, having that crack shot available to make sure you get that guaranteed last hit in there, always worth it. Yeah.
Not my style. I would not run an I4 with crack shot.
I mean, I run an I1 with crack shot.
I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, if you look across the board, I mean, even though there's a couple of like I5s and I6s, you're still seeing a lot of I4s and I3s. I mean, if you look at CIS, all those Magna Guards, all the Cad Banes in there, at Rebels, all those Bodicas at Initiative 4, you'd be surprised how many you're gonna run into, and you're gonna get that opportunity to get that crack shot off.
Yeah, and there's things like Padme and Wolf and Jag and Han, who's just bigger, so you can hit him, bullseye him.
Yep.
All right. Next list, Alex, what did Famous the Boflin run, which is definitely different than what we've seen before? What is it?
Yes, so he brought X-Wing Wedge with Plasma Torps and Elusive. Boy Luke, because you have to. Saw Gerrera with Hot Shot Tail Blaster, Tactical Officer, K2SO, and Notorious. Keo with Conch Missiles, Lone Wolf, and then Sabine with Beskar. That's a very offensive list, let me tell you. And if he ever played Cody, he would win, because Cody can never beat any Wedge, any X-Wing Wedge. It's hilarious. He just never wins. I mean, Saw, I guess I could see Hot Shot Tail Blaster, right? Because it's the cheapest illicit you can bring for Notorious. And I don't know, you don't want Dead Man because you're medium base. Tactical Officer and K2SO, you're really just passing out a lot of tokens. I'm not exactly sure who you'd be coordinating other than like Wedge off the initial engagement. Seems a little bit, I mean, it is only 3 points. I'm not sure what else you could bring. So there's that. Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean,
you could bring Electronic Baffle and upgrade Hotshot Blaster to Contraband. So
yep,
that's what I would do. That's 100% what I would do. But I don't know. I don't know if Hotshot Blaster ever got off. JJ, why the hell did you not find out if this guy ever used Hotshot Tail Blaster? I just want to know. I just need to know.
I mean, they have 2 crew. You could just bring Novice Tech instead of Baffle, but sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, you could just continue stopping until you have your own ability, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, next list is from Vomit Blood, which is my favorite name that ever exists in X-Wing. Thank you, Vomit Blood, for letting me say your name almost every week. JJ, what did Vomit Blood bring? And it looks almost identical to what everything else.
Another person could.
Yeah, exactly. This was a 4-ship Rebel list that we saw do very well in the top cut here. So we got Fenrau in the Fang Fighter with Crackshot, Predator, Beskar plating, Han Solo with Perceptive Co-Pilot, Chopper Crew, Baston, Engine Upgraded Millennium Falcon, Keo Venzi with Juke, and Boy Luke to round off the list. The effectiveness of this list cannot be understated, specifically with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. That pair, that combination between those 2 ships just absolutely pushes out the majority of offense on this list. And if they happen to shoot on a concentrate fire in the same ship there, it can pretty much bring it down to its knees, and then Keo Venzi or Fenrau can come in and play cleanup for it. And it surprisingly does very well in objectives. We have a very similar list for the runner-up, which is Josh Benjamin, who ran pretty much the same list and was able to beat Ryan Sanzuski on stream for the top 4 on salvage, by the way, where he had it's probably the weakest objective for it, and just being able to punish offensively and then kind of redirect and go grab objectives later on. It was really good.
So you want to know what Han loses to the other Han? 4-ship Han loses to 5-ship Han every time, it seems.
Which is because more 5-ship Hans are actually more 4-ship Hans have been brought more than 5-ship Hans lately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, Alex, what did Cody bring, and why is it your list times 2?
Cody brought nothing good, and it was hot garbage. Next one. No.
All right.
No, Cody's been flying. He brought his triple silencer list, things that he's been flying for like the past 5 or 6 years at this point, honestly. So he brought Malorus with Mag Pulse, which is what we agree is probably where it's at. He brought Blackout with Proton Rocket, Sensor Scramblers, Lone Wolf. Hits super hard. Rockets are always great. He brought Kylo with Proton Torpedo, Sensor Scramblers, Marksmanship, Extreme Maneuvers. He's been trying about 3 or 4 different styles of Kylo, and I think he settled on that one because spike damage is really good and Extreme Maneuvers is super, super good too. And then he brought Rush with Advanced Optics, Predator, and Fanatical because I wouldn't lend him my Sensor Scramblers. Also, I think he's been settling this because it hits so hard when it's an I6. It's disgusting. Just to get behind someone, you have Predator and Fanatical.
Can I ask why you won't give him Sensor Scramblers?
He didn't ask this time.
Okay. All right.
No, I almost always do for tournaments. He just didn't do it this time. And he only owns 2 Sensor Scramblers, so. But no, it's again, it's a Cody list. He's been flying this for like legitimately about 5 years or so. Some variation of it, except for now they gave him a TIE fighter that had Mag Pulse in 2.5.
Yeah.
Because he used to run recoil because Blackout was 6 points. Now they just gave him Blackout, and he's like, cool, I have an I5 and also Prockets and Lone Wolf. Because you only have 4 ships in there. And unlike most people, Cody just doesn't straight joust the other list. So then people get really confused. It's great.
All right. Next list, number 6 comes in with Empire. JJ, what did he run that seemed to be better than your list this week? What was it?
The correct rack.
So we got the Lieutenant Laurier with crack shot and targeting computer, Major Reimer with saturation salvo, barrage rockets, seismic charges, and delay fuses, the Captain Jonas with sat salvo, barrage rockets, and bomblet generator, Tomex Bren, the new one that came in the bomber pack with True Grit, plasma torpedoes, and ion bombs, and then we have Rack with Ruthless, Death Troopers, Darth Vader, Agile Gunner, Electronic Baffle, and the Dauntless title to round off the list. Now, what makes this list very good is that combination of number 1, Death Troopers, number 2, Darth Vader crew on Rack, which helps you strip the token off of a ship or make them do damage. And it gets even better once they're stressed because you're pretty much always pushing damage with Darth Vader. And then you have the 2 bombers with saturation salvo and barrage rockets in Jonas and Reimer going into that likely unmodded ship, and if they happen to roll good on defense, guess what? You're going to get sat salvoed, and they're going to start pushing damage there. Tomex Bren always delivering that initial punch with those plasma torpedoes, being able to take out extra shields out from the beginning, basically setting up the rest of the list to go in there and finishing off somebody. I got to say, Lieutenant Laurier with crack shot is something that I seriously considered for a while. I ended up just sticking with Lone Wolf because it felt better for my list. But in this list here, if you're able to keep somebody stressed to the point that he can't reposition, it is very, very good on Lieutenant Laurier to finish off a ship with that crack shot and make sure that they die. So yeah, very good.
All right. Next list, Duncan Howard. Alex, what is this hot determination that is not SOCs? I don't even understand it. Tell me what I'm missing here.
It's 7B Anakin, Predator, R4P17 shield upgrade, which seems like a pretty solid Anakin, especially if there's Chopper somewhere else in your list, which is on Adigalia, CLT Adigalia, with Chopper and Debris Gambit. You know, take your Chopper evade when you're close. It becomes white, take your normal action, shoot people a little bit harder. You have SOC Oddball, and then you have not SOC Wolf, the better Wolf, with Veteran Tail, R4P, and Expert Handling. I mean, you got 2 Jedi, 2 Arcs. It's Duncan. He's super good with Ace style things. Adigalia is an I5. Oddball's an I5. And just let it go to work.
All right. Fair enough. Now we're into Top Cut, baby. We're into Top Cut. Where is it at? The top 4 list. We have Anakin, AOC, Oddball, AOC. Anakin SOC, Oddball SOC, Wolf SOC, Jag SOC, and Padme with protons, passive sensors, and marksmanship. A very common staple that we have here. And I will say, I like this list. I still think it's a pretty good list, and it's nice to see a Padme in the top cut here. Now, Alex, what did our boy Staniszewski bring from Michigan, making number 3 and eking out the number 3 position here in Nova?
So this is a list he's actually been kicking around, talking to us actually about it, seeing what he wants to do. I feel like a lot of this relies on people just not realizing that Ferrosphere paint exists. But he's bringing Eloatsi with Plasma and Ferrosphere, which is wholly unique. No one's ever run that before in their goddamn life. But it's okay. I questioned a little bit on the Plasma Torps instead of something like M9G8, but it seemed to work out. He has Snap Wexley with R68 and Ferrosphere Heroic. Kaz with Targeting Computer, False Transponder Codes Notorious. And he's been flying Kaz basically since he came out, so he's very experienced with him. And he brought Jaspava with BB, Astromech, and Ferrosphere Paint. And then Lulo, the one ship that he told me he'll never run because he hates it, and I told him it's still good. He brought with Shield Upgrade, Ferrosphere, and Marksmanship. I will give him so much shit for this. Like, he dead-eyed looked at me. He's like, nope, not good. Won't ever play it. Like, Ryan, no, it's good. I'm telling you. No, just ignores me until he brings it and makes, top 4 at a major event with. This is my win, not his. Lulo's great. I love Lulo. You guys have been hearing me talk about that for months.
Yeah. I agree with you. Ferrosphere paint is a little bit of a unique thing. And I feel it is what I feel about it is nobody knows this. Therefore, you want to take it and go fuck yourself.
It's so good against the field, though, right? Because it's really good against faders. It's really, really comical against anything in the Republic, like Jag or something, because every time you take a lock, it's a stress.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do a lot of lock shenanigans. Padme does not want to be stressed.
Yeah.
Luke, he can be stressed, but it's not preferable. So it's like anything that wants to like lock constantly or incidentally gets a lock. Like Malorus can use her ability if she locks you and she doesn't bullseye you.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I claimed this was one of the best upgrades ever, and everybody shit on me for it. And finally, at least somebody took it to top table, because I'm telling you, like, I was very pro Ferrosphere paint for forever. Like, this is like the upgrade I was obsessed with, like, hands down.
There's a local we play that always runs Ferrosphere paint on his T70s. Runs five T70s, always runs Ferrosphere paint. I'm assuming that's where Ryan took it from, because he's very frustrated playing against this guy. But no, it's a solid upgrade. It's just 3 points on the D70. Doesn't have a lot of points to spare. That's, I think, people's problem with bringing Ferrosphere.
Yeah, and just for the listeners that don't know what Ferrosphere Paint does, so it is a tech upgrade for the resistance that allows you to, whenever an enemy takes or acquires a lock on that ship, if you're not in their bullseye, they either gain a stress or they have to break the lock that they just took there. Now, I got to give props to Ryan, because I pretty much every game that I was near him, and we played with me, and when he played on stream, was constantly reminding his opponents about the interaction with Ferrosphere Paint, in case they weren't familiar with it, and making sure that his opponents understood there. So that's class A play. What is it? Sportsmanship on Ryan's behalf, to make sure that his opponents knew that. It is definitely something that reminds me of like the stress builds from the old 1.0 with the rebels, and also the old rebel captive, where like if you decide to target that ship, you're just going to get stressed constantly. That's exactly what it reminds me of, to a less degenerate degree. But yeah, in a meta that is now very target lock happy, or at least there's a lot of ways to get target locks, this is definitely really good tech to slow down the maneuvers of your opponent.
Christ, can you imagine if we had tribal captive
Oh
nowadays.
gosh, no!
Right.
Please
No,
ban.
stop it. Stop it.
God,
Stop
man.
it.
Super
Stop it.
thematic,
No,
but never want that in
nope,
the game.
stop it. Nope, stop it. And like I said, I will never take credit for the Ferris Fair paint piece because I don't fly Republic or Resistance very often. But I will just say is like I'm sorry, like it's great tech against a lot of things right now. Especially, you know, like the one thing it doesn't work very well against is the Hans of the world. So, you know, it's not surprising that Ryan's struggled a little bit. But, you know, Ryan has, in fairness, Ryan has always been a very fair sportsmanship guy. I get stuck playing every time we play a damn tournament. I get stuck playing against Ryan. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. We are fated to play each other every fucking time. And I lose. I think I've lost out of the 5 times. I've lost 4 times out of the 5. So, but in either which way, like Ryan has always been a very good sport. I highly enjoy playing against Ryan most of the time. Once in a while, he gets a little cocky, and it's like, "Hey, buddy," you know. But for the most part, Ryan is a very genuine spirit. And when he does get a little cocky, it's just he's excited. He's not really being a dick to you. He's genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. And like when we went to Worlds, like he literally came by every single round and asked how I did. Like every single round. It was like, "Hey, how'd you do? Did you do good? Did you do bad? All right, hey, look up. You got a next round, you can make it, buddy. Don't worry about it." You know, so Ryan is truly like, if you talk about sportsmanship, Ryan is one of the people, like I would say, hey, if you want an example, look at that guy. That's the guy I would look at every single time for sportsmanship. And you know, like I said, he's won a lot of things. He knows what he's talking about. I'm very happy, Alex, you can rub Lulo in his face for the next like 5 years. So
Forever.
By the way, when Ryan comes on the show, the name of the episode and the image is going to be Ryan with a shocked face and Lulo. So it's going to happen. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this, so he doesn't know it's coming, so we can make fun of him. But all right. So top cut list. I'm just going to cover them. And then we could talk a little bit about them. They are essentially almost identical. The difference is one list has Fen Rao, the other list says I want Wedge and Sabine. That is literally the big difference between the two. And I'm gonna make a statement. You guys can disagree with me or agree with me, but the difference in the Han builds is inconsequential in this format when they played each other. Like, I think they are different Hans when it comes to the meta overall, but when they played each other, like, I don't really genuinely see like a huge difference. Like, one has Chopper Crew, the other one has Trick Shot, right? You know, like, to me, the proper build would have been to take the runners up list, except for with all of the other upgrade or all the other ships. But with that guy's build, I would not run the Trick Shot build. That's just not me. To me, that seems a little silly. I understand why they do it, and it's all in, you know, how you build your list and all of that fancy jazz. But they are essentially identical lists minus one. The winner ran Trick Shot, Perceptive, Bistan, title. The runner-up ran Perceptive, Chopper, Bistan, Engine Upgrade, title, which is my preferred Han build. And then they both ran Boy Luke. They both ran Keel with Juke. And then the runner-up ran Fen Rao with Crackshot, Predator, Beskar. And the winner ran Sabine with Beskar and Wedge with Marksmanship, Predator. And I will say on Wedge, the Marksmanship Predator like triggered once? I think once in the whole game that they played. It was not much. It was just one time. And I think the big difference here is when they had to play Assault, and the trajectory that the winner went in and how they played was superior. In fairness, Wineco played superior to Josh in how it was. I don't even think this is a dice statistical thing, personally.
So, you know, when I think Trick Shot did matter twice. The first shot and the last shot. So the first shot was he was able to essentially do a one straight that lined up the edge of of Han against Fen Rao, and was able to take out, I believe, 3 hull from that Fen Rao, and then essentially take out the shields off of Keo for that initial engagement, and that absolutely hampered the effects of Josh's ships to be able reliably to go into Han, who was essentially untouched. And then the final shot against his Han, he was able to get a trick shot off, which he was able to re-roll into a full string, which ended up eliminating Ben's or Josh's Han Solo, which got him the win for getting those last 7 points on there. Definitely the objective portion of the game mattered a lot. I mean, if you look at the score, I believe the Wineland was able to score, I believe, 12 points off of objectives alone. So that is a huge amount of points there. And being able to still keep pursuit on the rest of the list and essentially have Han as the front man to like completely harass and destroy half of the ships that were on the board for this opponent is a big deal. But I do agree. Overall, when you take a look at the other games that Josh played on stream, having that engine upgrade, having that chopper available, came in so much more. It was definitely worth a lot more overall across the tournament that I think having that trick shot is. Yes, you can have the possibility of having that spike damage to go through, but ultimately being able to take actions and get your Han, who is your most offensive piece on that list, into a safe spot and then still take shots afterwards is the most important thing on the list.
Sure. What I want to point out, though, is the 2 pivotal points in the game, like the one round where he lost, where Josh lost 2 ships in one round, had nothing to do with trick shot.
Yeah, no,
period.
No, it didn't. But
yeah,
having no shields though for the beginning, that didn't matter. So,
but that's what I'm saying. But they didn't take Fen Rao out to begin with.
No.
That's not who they were shooting, and that's so. My problem, my thing becomes is when we talk about Han versus Han, 5-ship Han beats 4-ship Han every time. I don't think if we talk about a full tournament, which is better, is a whole different conversation. But gotcha. I don't feel in a mirror match, 4-ship Han beats 5-ship Han if they both have the same player skill set.
Yeah, and the other part too is the scenario objectives as well, right? Because I think you have more of an even shot if you're playing, like, let's say Scramble, and you're able to reliably contest scenario objectives. I think you have an easier time at higher initiative doing that, and that would be easier for Han to do that. But when you're playing an objective like Assault, where you just need to be in the area, and Winan did a great job of essentially boxing out Josh from the bottom of the board where there are 3 objectives, and was able to capitalize on that very, very reliably.
Yeah, a round 0 setup.
Yeah, round 0 was huge. Yeah.
All right. Alex, anything else before we wrap up for the night?
I think I'd personally play 5-ship Han over 4-ship Han. But I just like 5 ships. So that's about as much as I can contribute to that.
All right.
All right, so one last announcement before we go. We are planning to do the Planning Phase Syndicate Showdown in October here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just looking to nail down the final dates here. We will be having, it will be a streamed event by us. We will be having prizes to give out and stuff. So if you are in the North Carolina area, we'd love to have you guys come down. We are planning to try to have this done over at Atomic Empire in Durham. And we hope to see you guys over there. We're working to make this a store champ, so that way the winner can get an invite over to Worlds and have a great time over there. So we'll have more announcements on that once we get the final details on here, but we're definitely going to have that in October. So we would love to see you guys there. So, have fun.
So you should think about moving it to November, but
can't. There is an event happening in November there, so I can't do that.
Every single weekend?
The first and third weekend, yes. And then we have Thanksgiving.
I'm just saying, you're killing me. October is when my daughter has surgery. So you're saying, hey, let's let's do an event where we call it for the show, and then you can't come because your daughter has to have cancer surgery. So
we'll have to discuss some details off once we're done. But yeah.
All right. If you are from Michigan and you would like to have any sort of enjoyment about Store Champs, we have like a million of them coming up.
One every single week.
Yeah, literally, we have one for the next like 2 months, literally. So if you would like to join us, we will have one in Lansing on September 10th, right? 10th. September 10th has one in Lansing. September 16th has one in Livonia.
That's what I'm doing.
Which Alex is running, and there will be special cards if you would like.
Things.
We will not show them tonight. We'll do that next week.
Sad.
Alex will take some pictures and put them on the stream for next week. The week after that is the Kentwood Store Championship in September. If you would like to join us at Out of the Box. The week after that is the Ann Arbor one.
Oh, it's an Ipsy. It's Matt's Ipsy one.
Whatever. Yipsy and Ann Arbor are the same thing. I don't fuck you. It's the same thing. I don't care what you say. But it's same area. If you want to join us in Ann Arbor, Yipsy, we have another one. The week after that is the big one, is the Michigan GT. If you are not signed up for that, I know the price is a little bit more, but the Michigan GT always gives out prizes essentially equal to what you paid to get in, up to like 50% of the tournament. We have 2 Store Champ kits we're giving away there if we can get enough people to go to that, as well as Alex has created cards for Michigan GT, which has our logo on it. So Michigan GT is the first real weekend in October, the 7th, 8th, and 9th. If you would like to, there you go. There's a marksmanship card, has our logo right on it. It is an amazing card. We have 100% sponsored this event. JJ supposedly is going to come out, but we don't know if we believe him or not. So we'll see if he comes out or not. If he does, he has to wear his Lions hat. So
that's done and done. Assuming that you actually ordered for me and sent it to me.
I did. I can prove it to you. Would you like me to prove it to you right now on my phone? I can do that.
No, let's close out, man. Let's close it out.
You want me to? No? You want me to?
I believe you. I believe you.
There it is.
Oh,
see?
It's not the actual Lions hat.
Oh, that's not the stupid beach hat.
No, it's not the stupid beach hat, and it's not the stupid lion. They got rid of that Lions hat. Wait, the one that had the lion on it, it's gone.
Good.
Like, it's not there. Like, I can't find it. I tried for you, JJ. I tried. After Michigan GT, there is the Crossroads event the weekend after. The weekend after that is our Grand Haven Sidewinders Store Championship. And then there's one after that, but I don't remember what it is. So I'm just we'll deal with that next week after that. So lots of events coming up. If you want to come hang out with Alex and I, we'll be at the majority of these. We did order some cards. We'll be giving cards away from Planning Phase Syndicate as we go forward. So with that being said, thank you all. Have a good night, and we will see you on the Flippity Flop.
Have a good night, everybody.